Sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan. Rochester. An Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Another fun afternoon of sports talk in the Flower City on your way. We welcome you on into the Rochester's only local sports talk show. We are the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. Thanks for listening at 95.7 FM. At AM 950 on our YouTube page, our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester. You can get us in the free-to-download Odyssey app. Gino, I'm fired up. As we start the show here, we'll let you know who's stopping by this afternoon, and we'll get you set up for the afternoon show. But right away, off the top, I got to tell you, I'm a little hurt. I'm kind of disgusted. I feel disrespected. I feel snubbed for an organization that just a week ago was propping my work up on a national level. We have been disrespected in the sports bar.
I thought you were going to go with people are going to be upset about the voting, and it's not going to go your way. No, we're not talking about the Josh Allen MVP vote tomorrow night.
No.
We'll find out Lamar Jackson. This is now, 8 years in running we can't crack the top here, but what's it going to take?
If you're not familiar with what we're talking about here, last week I was listed in the top 20 program directors for the top 40 format according to Barrett Media. Barrett Media is an industry-wide resource, a website, news, information, and they do this listing of, they do it for shows and they do it for program directors, and Barrett Media originated with just the news talk and sports formats. So if you're a news talk or a sports radio station, you're very familiar with Barrett Media, and Barrett Media recently has expanded to music formats, and most of the radio industry now is familiar with Barrett Media. Today, they released their top 20 of 2024 mid-market sports talk afternoon shows. Now, I'm still proud that I made the list that I made. I finished 20th. And when you look at the markets of the people that were on that list, I mean, it was all like New York, Los Angeles, Boston, and then at number 20,
they lumped that in all together. So it's like, holy cow, you took on the big guys and you got in there. We're not even invited to the New York, LA, Chicago.
Right. No, they have a separate category here, mid-market afternoon shows. We did not crack the top 20. And talk about a kick in the nuts. I mean, if we needed a reminder that we're a secondary market to a secondary market, this is it. I'm just floored. I mean, I know the quality of work that we do, and I just think we're not getting the recognition we deserve here. And I think it has everything to do with where we reside and nothing to do with the quality that we put out every day. Is that fair? I think they view us, because the Bills are in Buffalo and not in Rochester, and we don't have a quote-unquote pro team in our backyard. I look at some of these shows, and the only correlation I can make is, they are in markets that have pro sports.
Or major Division I college, because they looked at some of the other. There was Baton Rouge, there was Knoxville, and I would put Rochester, New York up against
Hold on a second. Where are you seeing those? Hold on.
Oh, not for the afternoon, but for midday.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm just looking solely at afternoon drive. And I'm looking at the list of the shows here. And look, I'm sure these guys are all talented. I'm sure they're all wonderful personalities. But I'm having a hard time, Gino. My ego is frail. It's fragile. I'm having a hard time finishing behind a guy named Mo Egger. I'm having a hard time finishing behind.
Who's Mo Egger?
Mo Egger is, I'm sure he does a great job in afternoons on ESPN 1530 in Cincinnati.
Well, they can talk Bengals and Reds
sure.
and everything.
Yeah. Gabe Kuhn in Memphis at 92.9 ESPN in Memphis. I'm fairly certain they're an Odyssey station. I don't want to create Odyssey on Odyssey crime, but I'm fairly certain that we do a better show than Gabe Kuhn. I'm looking at Gabe Kuhn's photo here, and Gabe looks like he just, well, not that I should talk today, looks like he just rolled out of his basement.
Yeah, like, have you seen yourself?
Today is not a day I should,
no,
but Gabe, maybe you're getting your picture taken for a trade publication here. Maybe something other than a T-shirt. Hey, Jason LaCanfora is at number 14 in Baltimore. Okay, that's Jason LaCanfora. In Kansas City, Carrington Harrison. Remember when they had the shooting at the parade last year? We had to cut into what they were doing there in Kansas City. I thought he actually did a good job. I would put Carrington up higher than 12.
He also does the weekly radio interview with Mahomes. Maybe that's our thing. We got to hook up with a bill here.
This one is a little infuriating because at 105.9 The X in Pittsburgh, Mark Madden's show is listed at number 11. That's not even a sports station. It's a rock station.
Ooh.
The X, and I'm sure Mark Madden is a lovely gentleman. A lovely gentleman. Number 1 on the list, speaking of Pittsburgh, the Pony Express. Filipponi, number 1. He's got some Western New York ties. Pony and Mueller, the PM team on the Fan, 93.7.
Yeah, we've had him on the show in the past, yeah.
So, Columbus, number 2, Common Man and T-Bone.
This is like a role reversal. Usually I'm the guy, and you're the, don't worry about it. I still have it stuck in my craw, and I know you listen over there, Mason, your staff. Hey, how many years is it going to take to get the first pitch thrown out? Things like that.
Well, I mean, is first pitch a step towards a bobblehead? Because I need a bobblehead.
That would be the first thing.
Yeah, we need a bobblehead. We got to work towards it.
Like, I would take the first pitch.
Just the disrespect, Gino. The disrespect. I can't take it. I cannot take it. You're right. Normally, I'm calm, cool, and collected in these situations, but I'm riding the high. My ego is as big as it's ever been. I was on a list last week, and I'm an omission on this list this week. And show up with the Bulldog or in the top 10, and we can't even crack the top 20? Come on.
No Odyssey on Odyssey Crime. We're happy for them.
Of course. They've been doing it a little bit longer than we have, but we're coming up on 9 years. We're coming up on 9 years doing this show.
9 times.
When do we get the recognition?
Well, I don't know. Our regulars going into action just kind of point out to Barrett, hey, we have this show in Rochester. Here's the obvious conclusion, Danger. I'm glad you didn't go here. You were named top 20 in your day job, right? And that includes the major markets. What's the difference here? I thought you were going to go after me, bud. I'm dragging you down here. I'm the one here. I'm the difference here. You're top 20 in a different format, but you can't beat out Mo or whatever the heck the guy's name is.
No, look, if it's between you and Mo Egger, I'm taking you all day, Gino. Yeah, I don't care if you think you're dragging us down. You're not dragging us down.
Isn't the story here, though, Danger? It's Rochester. They don't have me. People from the outside don't understand our town. They really don't.
Oh, you got guys like Bill Ryder telling us how great we are and how much he enjoys coming on our show. He's a national guy. He loves Rochester. He loves the market. He loves the affiliate. Where's the respect? Where's the respect? Barrett, what's going on? You know what? I'll give it back. Take me off the list. Take me off the list.
Stop,
I want to be,
stop.
if I can't be top 20 in both, then I'm just wasting my time.
They have their blue ribbon committee, Danger, that does the voting, and there were 51 shows and only 20 got mentioned. We were on the outside.
You actually read the criteria? There were 51 shows?
Yes.
Do we even know if we were included in the 51 shows?
That's a good question.
I wonder if we were. I mean, if we weren't even included, this guy JMV in Indianapolis is at number 10. He's holding the Stanley Cup in his photo. Hey, Indianapolis, you don't even have a hockey team, you fraud. Why are you holding a picture of the Stanley Cup? We need to be on this list.
Is he holding the Stanley Cup above his head? I didn't think.
No, he's like fondling the Stanley Cup.
Wrong. You shouldn't be touching that.
Yeah, he is touching it. He's hugging it. Kind of a little disturbing. Later this afternoon, we'll be talking to Spencer German from our Odyssey Sports sister station, 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland, home of Nick Wilson and Jonathan Peterlin, number 9 on this list. We couldn't even crack the top 20. The disrespect.
9 times.
You're not going anywhere because your wife loves Rochester. She loves her family. You're here, Danger.
She's about to kick me out of the house.
Uh-oh.
Can I share my saga? She's about to kick me out of the house. She's had it with me.
Okay, hold on. Let's hit pause here. I'm going to, as you would say, put a pin in this, okay? I don't want to be pissing off Jason Barrett or anybody there. Grateful, okay, that they put you in the top 20. So, hey, to anybody who might be listening, it's Danger's having a day at home that, all right, do you really want to do this, Danger? Do you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we can air my dirty laundry.
No.
She's going to air her dirty laundry on her show tomorrow morning, I'm sure.
You know, Allie's at college if you need a place to stay tonight.
Just preface everything by saying I love my wife. I'm incredibly grateful for everything that I have. We have a wonderful family, beautiful home. My dreams have been exceeded more than I could possibly imagine. However, we've had issues with our garage door opener, off and on through the last couple of months. It's acting wonky. It's intermittent. It works when it wants to work. So I've been troubleshooting it, trying this way and that way to get this thing to work with any sort of consistency. It's over 20 years old. I mean, it came with the house when we first bought the house. So we've had this garage door opener for 20 plus years.
Okay, so stop right there.
Yes.
That's okay.
I don't know what the shelf life is, but I imagine the shelf life for a garage door opener is probably 15 to 20 years. If I had to guess, maybe somebody smarter can let me know on that. But anyways, we've had it for over 20 years. It's acting a little fritzy, and I've been trying everything I can to work it out. So originally the problem was the chain came off the sprocket on the top of the garage door opener. Okay, that should be an easy fix. Let me fix that. Did, and it still doesn't work. And now it's like, oh, is it the sensors? Now the sensors, we don't know. Maybe the sensors aren't working, or maybe there's a wire, that's acting up, or a short in one of the wires of the sensors, and that's preventing it from not working. Whatever the case may be, we've been troubleshooting it, trying to get it to work. She got involved, helped out over the weekend, and I said, we can just call somebody, and this will be taken care of. And she is adamant about doing it ourselves, and there's a part of me that respects that. I, too, want to be able to solve problems. I, too, want to be more mechanically inclined and more handy. It's not that I don't want to do that stuff, but I always say the same thing. And I say this, and it drives her nuts, and this is why I'm in trouble. I always say the same thing. I say, what is our time worth? What is our time worth? Because we spent most of the day Saturday putzing around with this thing, trying to get it to work, and it's not working. And we're trying to troubleshoot everything, and nothing is working. So what is our time worth? So yesterday, while I was on the air here with you, Gino, she was working on it. She ordered new sensors off of Amazon for the garage door, and she worked on it, and she was all excited and all proud. And she sent a video of the garage door working while I was on the air yesterday. I'm like, this is exciting. I can't wait to come home and get the garage door to work. The garage door is working again. She did it. I'm proud of her. This is awesome.
Okay. Stop right here. I see a fork in the road because two things are going to happen in this story. Path number one, she's going to hold this over your head, and you're kind of, and I'm worried about where that would go, that pathway. Or it was working and now it's not working, and you going back to your original thing, hey, we need to call somebody. No, we're not, and we're going to spend more time. So I'm not sure which path we're going to go here on the story. Mike Danger, continue.
I go to open the garage door when I get home. It opens halfway. It stops. I'm like, I get out of my car.
Oh, no.
I disengage the garage door, open it up manually, park my car in the garage, close it behind me manually. I walk in the door, and I uttered the famous last words. Well, I guess it wasn't for a lack of trying. She was not pleased. I should not have said that. That was a problem. I should not have said that. Yeah. That was all I said. Well, it wasn't for a lack of trying, I guess. And, thinking back, okay, she's been spending her time trying to get this problem solved while I'm here talking about the Buffalo Bills for 3 hours. And, I'm saying it at the same time as she's cooking dinner. And it came out wrong. It was a clumsy fumble on my part. It was like the Mahomes fumble. It was just a clumsy exchange.
That's the worst thing you ever did. And
Yeah, well, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. And so here we are again, stuck with the garage. And I can't say anything. I can't say what I've been saying, which is we can just call somebody and this problem goes away.
Faluca, new advertiser here on the Fan Rochester, but
Yeah.
you should call Faluca.
If they're listening, and you want to enter into the hell that is my life, come on in, have a seat. We've been waiting for you. So your house, Dandalorian's house. I'm on the verge. She's
so
ready to boot me.
How do you You've been married almost as long as we have.
Mm.
I just know when the executive producer and I fight, it's pissy for a little bit, and then you just kind of forget about it and move on.
Everything's fine.
Yeah.
You know, now that I think about it, everything is fine, except I just brought it up on the air, and if it gets back to her, then everything will not be fine. So,
all right, so no, guy code, everybody, okay? Guy code. Don't be the hero. Sandy, just so you know.
the worst person.
They were talking about you
the
on
worst
the air
person
today.
out there is the person who I just thought you should know person. That person is not a hero. They think they're being a hero. Hey, I just thought you should know what they said about you. Okay, hero. Knock it off. Because you're half listening and you actually believe that I'm going to get kicked out of my house. I'm not. We're good. But I have to share this with you because it was tense. It was a little tense. And to shift gears and talk about sports, that tension spilled over right into the first 3 seconds of the Sabres game last night. Tell me you're an unserious franchise without telling me you're an unserious franchise. Oh, so you get criticized for not standing up for your teammates and not throwing down in a game where you need to throw down. So what do? Within the first 3 seconds of the next game against Columbus, you throw down. Wow. Well, that makes everything better, I guess.
Wow, that does not connect there, and I'm sure everybody that went to that game was like, really? Okay, I guess we'll kind of
Hey, it's entertaining.
applaud
Where was it?
this.
Where was it on Sunday, boys? Where was it on Sunday?
Again, I just kind of go back to the Amerks. Goaltender gets run in November. We're going to remember that. Okay, now we're on the road in Hartford, and it's a chippy game to begin with, and the whistle blows. End of the second period. Firing the puck at the goalie. Boom.
Done.
Wasn't one guy. It was all six, the five guys in the ice, and the two goaltenders.
Yeah.
Wasn't even a thing. It's like, wait a second. F you, we're going at it.
Yeah.
To me, Owen Power lost me. Samuelson lost me. Everybody on that team, you didn't have to be on the ice, kind of lost me. And the head coach, too. How many times in my feed were people showing, well, this is what it used to be like, the Ottawa fight from 2007. Wow, you were never more proud to be a Sabre fan after that. And they won the game. And your captain got clocked, and you had the appropriate response. That happened now. My God, the Drury, like how much things have changed. I digress. The head coach now defending the team, poo-pooing the question, saying it was BS. Oh, yeah, the Sabres won. And you know what? Danger, I feel it's a Francesa.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, who cares?
It is. It's that. Oh, Dylan Cousins is on the trade block.
Oh,
who cares?
That's the big weeks bomb?
Yeah.
Oh, who cares?
Wow, that'll fix everything.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think you can get for Dylan Cousins?
Oh, who cares?
I think the terrifying thing is you actually paid him, and this is what you're getting after you paid him. The workhorse from Whitehorse.
Oh, who cares?
Okay. Good luck, boys. Good luck. Hey, 4-game win streak. And even when you win, sometimes it feels like you lose. We'll also be joined here in a few. PJ Glasser, the host of Send It In on the BetQL Network, is going to stop by. We'll get his favorite plays for the Super Bowl. He's got some college basketball plays. Ooh, fun weekend in golf, the Phoenix Open.
This is fun, right? The Super Bowl was there a few years ago. I remember thinking, boy, if the Bills made it in, wouldn't that be a great weekend for it? They would just pair nicely. We'll talk about that. Couple college basketball games I want to talk about because PJ, he is a wizard when it comes to college basketball, and you've got tonight. I mean, are we going to be – we can't bet on this, Danger, but are we going to be looking at this like, oh, okay, this is like the gap between Duke and Syracuse, that game at the Dome tonight, or the Orange give us something to be proud of? I'm also curious about this game coming up Friday. St. John's at UConn. St. John's knocking off number 12. St. John's now 11-1 in the Big East. That's the first time that's happened since 1985. Rick Pitino. Like, in a sport where, like this week, the Florida State coach is resigning. Like, where all these old guys have just kind of gone away. And here is, now you could say he's the old man, 72-year-old Rick Pitino, still like this is 1987, wearing the suit last night at MSG.
I'll say this about college basketball. Maybe it's going to take me a second to get into it, but I know Duke and North Carolina played on Saturday, and it felt like a 0. It felt like a giant Francesa. And I know that...
Oh, who cares?
I know that Duke has players. I know Cooper Flagg is like, ooh, this guy's really, really good. But, like, the personality is missing from college basketball. But you have a guy like Pitino doing what he's doing, which is great. You have somebody like Hurley who, I'm the best effing coach in the game. Don't you turn your back on me.
You mean Friday night. Old-time Big East matchup.
Yeah.
Yeah, UConn, you need to stay in the Big East. Don't be going anywhere to some other conference or football. I know you tried that. And we're still regretting it here in Orange Country that the Orange are in the ACC. Danger, it's been 22 years now that this has been, but we're not over it yet.
We'll get to PJ Glasser. He is the host of Send It In on the BetMGM Network. He'll be stopping by next with his favorite plays for this weekend and college hoops for tonight as well. The Fan Rochester wants to send you on the ultimate trip to Vegas. All 4 airfare for 4 of you, all 4 of you, to Las Vegas. A stay at the Circa Resort and Casino, Las Vegas's premium sports viewing destination, and the biggest March hoops party at Stadium Swim. Plus $5,000 for each guest. That's a total of $20,000 to fund the ultimate viewing experience for the first 2 rounds of the college basketball championships in March. Winning is easy. Just download the free Odyssey app, AUDACY. Log in and listen to the Fan Rochester or any participating station. You can listen each day for at least an hour for your daily entry into our national contest. Good luck. More with PJ Glasser next, and your calls on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester. GoodSmokeBBQ.com.
You're listening to The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. On 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
The moment is here. Your chance to make this Valentine's Day unforgettable. The spa at the Del Monte holds the secret to the ultimate Valentine's gift. Ready for it? Nothing says I love you like a gift card to the spa at the Del Monte. They may not tell you exactly what they want, but trust us, a spa at the Del Monte gift card shows you've been paying attention. Purchase gift cards in store or online at delmontespa.com. Make this Valentine's Day one to remember.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams from across the country and get the inside scoop from experts. AUDACY. Odyssey.
It's time to visit your local Vision dealer. Happening now at all Vision locations. It's your time to sign, then drive into 2025. It's easy. 0 down, 0 first month payment, 0 due at signing, and 0 charge for rust proofing, paint sealant, and interior protection. Rochester, that gives you 0 reasons to shop around. Don't wait because our unbeatable selection is going fast. So you better get down here and claim the color and options you want before your dream vehicle is gone. Hurry in now to any Vision location or go to our website and schedule your VIP appointment right now.
Paid actors represent actual clients.
After my car accident, I called my attorneys, the Barnes firm, to see if I had a case. They got me $800,000.
I'm Rich Barnes. Do you have a case? Call our Rochester office now and find out. Past results don't predict future outcomes. Main Street, Rochester.
Today at GetMyPerks.com, get a half-price certificate to the new Argyle Grill at Eaglevale. Open year-round and 7 days a week with fantastic lunch, dinner, and drink specials. The Argyle Grill has something for everybody. Their all-new menu features salads, wraps, burgers, wings, tacos, and the best fish fry in town. The Argyle Grill also features the NFL ticket and is the perfect place to host your next event. Half price at the Argyle Grill at GetMyPerks.com.
Save, save, save. GetMyPerks.com.
If you're struggling to wake up, it's time for a sports-fueled jolt. Tune in to Maggie and Perloff on 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan Rochester. Weekday mornings through the Odyssey app. And start your day with enough energy to rival a triple shot espresso. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
I'm Brian Tedesco, CEO of Blaupunkt Americas, the pioneers of the car stereo. Today, we're not just about sound systems. We are revolutionizing the e-bike scene with Blue Dot Bike. Thanks to AmericanEagle.com, our online presence now features a dynamic e-commerce website that showcases the quality and affordability of our foldable e-bikes. And our collegiate e-bikes, just perfect for the college fanatic. These e-bikes offer a new way to experience freedom on two wheels, no matter your age. When we needed a top-notch website to match our cutting-edge e-bikes, we turned to AmericanEagle.com. They made the impossible seem easy, tackling digital challenges like pros. Check out the Blue Dot Bike website to see AmericanEagle.com's amazing work in action. Need the best in website and digital marketing solutions? AmericanEagle.com is your go-to. They've been a game changer for us, and they can be for you too. Visit AmericanEagle.com or call 877-WEB-NOW-1. That's 877-WEB-NOW-1.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right, so we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
Gearing up for the big game, we are too. Join us on the Moth Podcast for a special episode dedicated to hilarious true stories.
Season for Syracuse basketball. Perhaps tonight could be a signature moment. The Orange hosting number 2 Duke. We'll talk to our hoops guru, PJ Glasser, the host of Send It In on the BetMGM network. PJ joining us next here. Talk a little bit about that and certainly the Super Bowl. Tage Thompson not on the ice this morning for the practice. Lindy Ruff, head coach, with more.
Thompson skated this morning. Had a good day. It's got to go through, the protocol and the testing and stuff, but really felt good. So encouraged.
Like I said, Tage Thompson was on the ice this morning. Sabres have won 4 in a row. They play at Nashville on Saturday. Danger, that's why we didn't crack the top 20. Amherst hosting Belleville Friday. G. Battaglia and the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
It's a team effort, pal. It's a team effort. And look, maybe that brings us down a little bit, but our next guest brings us right back.
There we go.
He is the host of Send It In on the BetMGM network. An Odyssey Sports Betting Insider, our buddy PJ Glasser. Insider Calls presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app. PJ, I don't know, something going on this week, and I think most Bills fans are kind of numb and immune to the fact that the Chiefs could win their 3rd straight Super Bowl on Sunday. But, of course, we're glad to have you on when we can look at some of these plays and try to figure out exactly how we can make some money on a day that a lot of Bills fans have been dreading.
Yeah, guys, it does feel like, this is kind of one of those Super Bowls that, both teams are not very liked, right? Obviously, Kansas City and Philadelphia. So we'll all be wishing we had football to watch, though, in like the dog days of June and July. Mm-hmm. So it's crazy that it's coming to an end. But look forward to breaking down the game with you guys. We got college hoops to talk about, and Waste Management Phoenix Open as well out in Scottsdale, which is always a good time.
Ooh, yes. Well, let's get the football game out of the way here, PJ. And again, 2 weeks from now, I'll be like, man, I wish we had football. I go back to before the AFC Championship game, and you were right. And it's like, no, I'm not going to go against the Chiefs here. And we've been looking at this Chiefs team all year, and we've been seeing, well, a block field goal here or a doink here, or, hey, referees helping the whatever the case may be, they keep winning. PJ, is this the time you steer away from your strategy? Are you going with the Chiefs in this game?
I am, Gene. I'm going with the Chiefs in this game. Here's the difference, though, guys. When we were previewing the AFC Championship game, I thought Kansas City and Buffalo were truly two even teams. And I agree with the line. I thought, they're even teams on a neutral. It's a pick 'em. You give Kansas City about 1.5, 2-point field, 2-point advantage at home field. And, I just coin toss type game. Just give me Mahomes at home. I actually think the Eagles should be favored. I actually think the Eagles should be 1.5-point favorites. I think the Eagles are better. I don't really think that's too much of a hot take. I think most people would agree. Eagles have the better roster. They're the better team. Problem is, in these kind of games, you lean on experience, and you just lean on the fact that you're getting the better coach and you're getting the better quarterback in Mahomes. So, I think this time around, a lot of times, guys, when we're dealing with the Super Bowl, you look to fade the teams that have a coach and a quarterback making their Super Bowl debuts, right? Because it's almost like they're happy to be there instead of like they're treating this as a business trip. They know how to approach the 2 weeks, maybe not necessarily over game plan. It's just so different circumstances, how to handle the media. Well, now Sirianni and Hurts have their second go-around. So I think Philly is going to be a lot better prepared. I think their defense is going to play much better than they did when these two teams met 2 years ago. But guys, at the end of the day, you would expect this to come down right to the end, one-score game. Chiefs have won 17 straight one-possession games, so I can't bet against them. I like Kansas City to win the game.
And PJ, I saw some crazy stat. I think it was 18 straight games that the Chiefs' defense have not allowed a 100-yard rusher in the postseason. Let's talk player props, and Saquon is the guy that I think if you are going to root for anything, it's hard not to root for a guy like Saquon Barkley when you see how spectacular he was through the course of this season, everything he went through in New York, his redemption this year in Philly. What are your favorite player props heading into Sunday?
Yeah, we'll start with Saquon, guys. So I'm going to be contrarian here, as I normally am, as you guys know. I'm going to take Saquon's longest rush to go under 23.5 yards, with the simple fact being that, you just mentioned it, Danger. Like, the Chiefs don't give up. They just don't give up 100 yards to opposing running backs. There's only been one running back as well, guys, that's gone over 100 yards in the last 10 Super Bowls, so it normally doesn't happen as well. And Kansas City just does not give up explosive plays, it feels like James Cook had a really good AFC title game, rushing, receiving, but he wasn't able to break one for 30, 40, 50 yards. The Chiefs just don't give up those kind of plays. Another reason I really like it, too, is we posted that clip of me talking about it on Send It In yesterday on the BetMGM network, and people were just going nuts on me, guys. And usually when people hate the pick, that means it's usually a really good one. So I feel even better about it to go under longest rush for Saquon. But I do like that one a lot. I'm also, guys, I think this is going to be a big Devontae Smith game. In this game, you're always trying to find out, like, is it going to be a Kelsey game? Is it going to be an A.J. Brown? A lot of people like Dallas Goedert because the Chiefs have been so bad against tight ends this season. I think it's going to be a Devontae Smith game. You're going to have McDuffie on A.J. Brown. So Smith, for a majority of the game, is going to be dealing with the second corner for Kansas City. How many times have we seen Buffalo, a receiver, that number 2 guy, right, a Gabe Davis? Matt Collins had some big catches 2 weeks ago. So I think it's a big Devontae Smith game. He's also a big-time player. 2 years ago in the Super Bowl, 7 catches for 100 yards. And in the national championships that he played with Alabama, his freshman year, guys, he was the guy who caught that touchdown from Tua against Georgia on 2nd and 26. And then the year he won the Heisman, he had 12 catches for 215 and 3 touchdowns. So Smitty's a big-time player, and he really hasn't had a great postseason. I expect him to show up in a big way. So I like his over receiving yards, 50.5, longest reception over, and I like his anytime touchdown, plus 250 as well.
All right, I'm going to give you a prop I like, and granted, PJ, I'm the square here, but I'm just trying to, try to think like you. And I'm looking at Travis Kelce, 6.5 receptions. Like, wait a second. Okay, yes, he did that against the Steelers, and he did that against the Texans. The Bills held him to 2. Seems like the Eagles do a pretty good job against tight ends. Maybe this is just public money going in. Nobody likes to bet the under. I would take the under on that. From the Chiefs' side of things, are there any player props that you could suggest?
I would lean towards the under on that too, Gene. I didn't bet it, but that's the way I would lean. What I do like is Samaje Perine over 1.5 receptions. He's gone over this in 11 games this season, guys, and it's plus 170. So I think that's great value. And look, I kind of think that Philly's going to get off to a hot start. KC might have to chase a little bit, and their secondary's so good, right, with DeJean and Slay and Quinyon Mitchell. It's going to be tough for Mahomes to consistently find a passing game to his receivers, and obviously they're going to have a game plan to try and contain Kelsey the best they can. So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for Perine to have some receptions. I just think that price at plus 170 over 1.5 is a good bet for him. So I like that one. I like Mahomes over 36.5 pass attempts too, guys. 4 Super Bowls that he's played, he's had 40 or more pass attempts in 3 of them. Andy Reid knows biggest game of the year. You put the ball in the hands of your best player. So I like over pass attempts from Mahomes as well.
PJ Glasser is the host of Send It In. You can hear him on the BetMGM network and the free to download Odyssey app. Before we get to some college hoops with you, PJ, it felt nice having Pebble Beach on and having that the Pro-Am on with Rory winning it all over the weekend. And the weather there wasn't that great, but we always know what to expect when the tournament goes to Scottsdale. We have the Waste Management Open, the Phoenix Open, and it's always a party and it's always insane. And we know how into golf you are. Tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are going into this weekend in Arizona.
Guys, it's probably outside of the majors. This is one of the more entertaining events that we get year after year. And I'll tell you guys that course history at this event is like one of the biggest throughout the entire year. Guys that tend to play well here tend to do it year after year. Scheffler's got 4 straight top 10s. Justin Thomas has 6 straight top 15s. Sam Burns, who I like this week, I bet him at 28-1. He's had 2 straight top 10 finishes here. So, just go through, look at like course history metrics. If people want to bet this week, look at guys who have performed well here. Also, you want guys, because this is such a different event, they're going to have over 200,000 people on the grounds every single day. You got to deal with the stadium hole, that par 3 16th. You want guys that are going to feed off that, right? Feed off the energy, feed off the crowd. I mean, this is so different than what they're going to see every other week that some guys might not be able to handle that. So I like Tom Kim this week as well, guys, at 28-1. Tom Kim, when he's been in like the President's Cups or when he's been in the mix for like some of these big events, he really feeds off the crowd and the energy. And I think this week, guys, you want guys that are able to drive and keep the ball in the fairway. Driving distance isn't necessarily a key metric, but guys that can drive it with distance and keep it in the fairway is going to be key. You also, strokes gained approach here is so key. You got to have guys that are able to hunt flag sticks because, the winning score is probably going to be close to 20 under par, somewhere in that range. So Sam Burns, Tom Kim, 2 guys I would look at. If you want a longer shot, Kirk Kitayama, 60-1, is a guy that I like this week. I think TPC Scottsdale is a good comp course to Arnold Palmer's course, Bay Hill, and Kitayama won there a couple years ago. So Kitayama's a nice long shot I like, but I'm rolling with Sam Burns and Tom Kim this week, you guys.
Yeah, PJ, how many college basketball games, once football's fully over, will you watch every week now?
Oh, Gene, I mean, just bet the over, whatever the number is. It's gonna be too much.
You're just all right. So tonight, and you gotta understand, like up here where we in Rochester, it's like I don't know if we're the biggest market without a Division I program. We gravitate a little bit to the Bonnies. We gravitate a lot to Syracuse, and whenever we talk Big East, and we'll talk a little bit about some of these other matchups that we can't wager on, but I'm always a little jealous. It's like, yeah, this was the way it was, and I wish there was a pathway for the Orange to get back to the Big East. You got a matchup tonight. Now, this team not familiar with, when we were in the Big East, we being Syracuse fans, Creighton. They're at Providence tonight. This is 8:30 tonight on FS1. Creighton a small favorite in this game. I'm looking at 3.5. PJ, where is the value in this matchup?
I like Providence, guys. I think the value's with them. You know, there are certain teams in college basketball when they're at home, they just play a lot different, right? You think about like Purdue's always so good at Mackey, or Nebraska's always good at home, it feels like. And Providence, man, whenever somebody comes into the Dunkin' Donuts Center, they always play them tough. So it feels like this line should certainly be under possession. I like the fact that we're getting over a possession at 3.5. I think Providence wins the game outright. Creighton's kind of been an up-and-down team this year. They really rely heavily on two players, their point guard, Stephen Ashworth, and their center, Ryan Kalkbrenner. And if you can limit those two guys, then they tend to struggle. So Providence is a good defensive team. They went toe-to-toe with St. John's over the weekend, could have pulled off that upset at the Garden. I think they're going to pull off this upset tonight, though. I like Providence at home.
Wake Forest getting 3 points at Stanford. That's the late game tonight. Wake Forest,
ACC rivals.
Yeah,
like,
right. So which way are you leaning here between Wake Forest and Stanford? This renewed rivalry out west.
Guys, when I think ACC, I don't think Duke, Carolina. I think Stanford and Wake Forest down in Palo Alto. Wake's had a tough stretch, guys. They've had to play UNC, Duke, Louisville, Pitt. All these teams would be in the tournament if it started today. Now, you know, this is just one of these like kind of scheduling spots, right, in the ACC or Big Ten, where a team's got to fly across the country midweek and they got to play one of these games. It's just one of those tough, brutal scheduling spots where Wake's got to fly across the country and play Stanford, who's been a pretty good team at home this season. So I like the Cardinal. Anything under a possession, it's 2.5 right now on BetMGM. As long as it stays 2.5, I think that's a good bet with Stanford. It's just one of these spots where you love fading these East Coast teams that have to travel across the country midweek.
All right, so this next game, and this is also tonight, Texas and Arkansas. Now I'm going to hop inside the mind of PJ Glasser. All right, let's see.
I think you know where I'm going.
Yep.
I think you
okay.
know where I'm going.
Wow, you know, Arkansas coming off that big. Maybe I'll do it in my PJ impression.
No,
Arkansas
don't.
coming off that big. No, I can't do that. Okay, Arkansas coming off that big win. Calipari defeating, Kentucky. You know they were going to be up for that. This is ripe for a letdown. PJ, am I on the right track there?
Gene, I mean 100%. 100%. Guys, there are like 5 games a year in college football and college basketball where you get spots as like good as this one. I mean, both teams, right? That was Calipari's return to Rupp Arena. Like, guy won a national championship there. He's been there 15 years. Arkansas has had a terrible year in SEC play. They've been awful on offense the entire year. That was truly their Super Bowl. I mean, we're talking Super Bowl week. Like, that was Arkansas's Super Bowl. They not only play Kentucky well, they win the game, and now you got to turn around and you got to play. You got to play against Texas on the road. So I like the under guys as well at 141.5. Texas has been a good under team this year. And that game was more about Kentucky's defense and how abysmal they are than it was about Arkansas all of a sudden turning into an offensive juggernaut. So bet the under tonight, but lay it with Texas. I mean, this is when we talk letdowns, fellas. This is what we mean right here. This is absolutely a letdown for Arkansas tonight.
PJ hosts Send It In. You can hear him on the BetMGM network, the free-to-download Odyssey app on YouTube and Twitch as well. These are a couple games that we can't bet on, PJ, but I want to get your thoughts since you're watching as much college basketball as you are. Mentioned SU. They've got Duke tonight, and then Friday night, you've got that Big East match between UConn and St. John's, which I think a lot of people are looking forward to because you have, at minimum, 2 big personalities coaching those 2 squads. Tell us a little bit about what you're thinking between those 2 games.
Yeah, so initial thoughts, Duke-Syracuse. I mean, it's unfortunate, guys, that Syracuse isn't better because these games are great. You know, when they put like 30,000 people in the Dome against Duke, and you always get the camera crew that goes up to like section 600, and they give you like the bird's eye view shot of the court, right? They can barely see it. But it's a tough handicap tonight just because Duke's coming off the Carolina game. They have so many freshmen on their team. And, you know, when Duke goes on the road, they're going to get everybody's best shot. I think Syracuse first half tonight might be a play, like plus 10.5, just for them to keep it close. You know, Duke's a good shooting team. They're not a great shooting team. And, you know, again, they just played their biggest rival, and now they go on the road and play one of the worst teams in the ACC. So I would actually look at a Syracuse, like first half under maybe or plus 10.5 with Syracuse. And then St. John's UConn is going to be awesome. I like the over in that game. We'll see what the line is. Obviously, if it's like too high, it might change it. But I think anything under 150 is going to be a good bet in the over on that game, just because UConn has one of the best offenses in the country. Their defense is terrible. St. John's is one of the best defenses, and their offense isn't very good. So it's like one of those games. But usually UConn and St. John's really get into exciting matchups. Like those two teams really like to run against one another, and I think we're going to get a good pace on Friday night. So I think it's going to be a thrilling game. I think it's going to be up and down. I like the over in St. John's, UConn, and then I lean towards the Syracuse first half tonight against Duke.
PJ, I'm going to put you on the spot because once football's over, yes, for some they watch more hockey. For many of us, college basketball. And, it was a couple years ago, UConn winning as a 4 seed, but to those like yourself covering the sport, wasn't that much of a surprise. Is there a team right now that you're keeping your eye on that's a little frisky that maybe some of us should be paying more attention to?
To win the title, Gene, honestly, no. I wish I could come on here and give people like a 4, 5, 6 seed that could go all the way, but Auburn and Duke really are just kind of head and shoulders above everybody else. I would be surprised as of now. Obviously, a lot can change in a couple weeks or when we get into March, but as of now, tough for me to see anybody outside of Auburn or Duke winning the title.
Wow.
Final Four, though, right? I mean, Final Four, we could obviously get some interesting teams. There's one playing tonight, guys, Missouri, that I think is very underrated. Last year, one of the best stories from the tournament, obviously, was Oakland upsetting Kentucky, and Oakland having that incredible shooter, Jack Golke, from three-point range. Well, this year, Missouri's got the closest thing to Jack Golke. His name is Caleb Grill, and if people watch him tonight, he is an unbelievable shooter. And Missouri's got a couple of really good shooters from three-point range. Guys, they won at Florida this year. They just pummeled Mississippi State by 25. I think Tennessee wins the game tonight, but Missouri's got an offense that's really streaky. And they're the kind of team that if they get hot in the tournament, they're good enough to go to the Final Four. So Mizzou would be the team that I would keep an eye on to maybe make a deep run. But Gene, to win the title right now, I think it's going to be chalky, guys. I think it's either going to be Duke or it's going to be Auburn.
The BetMGM Network, where you can find Send It In, hosted by our guest, PJ Glasser, our Odyssey Sports betting insider. Tell everybody more about Send It In and where they can check out the BetMGM Network.
Yeah, guys, so we're on the BetMGM Network now, like you said, Danger. So check us out there at the BetMGM Network. You can watch us on Twitch or YouTube. We stream the show live on X as well. Send It In 1 to 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, weekdays, Monday through Friday. And it's a lot like these interviews that we do every week, guys. We go through a little bit of everything, college basketball, PGA Tour, NFL, whatever it may be. 30 minutes, no commercial breaks, rapid fire. It's a lot of fun, and we hope people tune in because it's an interactive show. So any bets or questions or anything you want to talk about, chime in during the show, and we'll talk about it on air.
What's on the menu for Super Bowl Sunday?
Super Bowl Sunday, well, I got to work again, fellas, on Sunday. So we got it's a 5-hour show on Sunday, leading right into kickoff.
Okay.
So it'll be 1 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And then I'm going to just Ricky Bobby my way home, shake and bake, making sure safely, of course.
Uh-huh.
And we'll get home making sure that we get to the start of the game and then, be sweating out all our bets and obviously rooting for the Eagles because we can't have the Chiefs win again.
Yeah, PJ, we can't bet on any prop bets. It's not allowed in New York State over the draft or anything that matter. And I'm sure this will come up, if not, but discussions just not on your show, but other shows on the BetMGM Network. Is there anything other than just we're going to have a little fun, in that regard? I don't know if there would be, but I figured let me ask you while you're here.
I don't think so. I mean, we got You Better You Bet right now. Our show is down at Radio Row in New Orleans, so I'm sure they're having a great time, but nothing exciting, I don't think, going on at the rest of the network. You guys got any excited plans on Sunday for the game?
I'm smoking queso and chili, and my brother-in-law is bringing over Philly cheesesteaks in honor of the Eagles and Saquon Barkley. We're going to dip the Philly cheesesteaks in the smoked queso.
Oh.
You can hear me getting fatter just describing it. I'm so excited for it.
I haven't shared this with you. On Sunday, the executive producer and I are going to the Memorial Art Gallery.
Oh man.
Oh, good.
PJ.
Godspeed, Gene.
I mean, let this be.
We have a Rembrandt here. I'm excited.
Let this be a lesson to you, PJ. Marriage, continuous negotiations, always. Buddy.
Man, ain't that the truth?
Enjoy the rest of your week, man. Thanks for the time.
Anytime, fellas. Talk to you next week.
Yeah, there's PJ Glasser. You can hear him on Send It In, the BetMGM network. What the hell happened, man? What the hell happened?
Well, I'm in the middle of this hockey every weekend, and then when I wasn't doing hockey, the Bills were home, and so
you need some time with the executive producer.
So she made this suggestion last Sunday. I'm like, why don't we go out? Because I don't want it. Here's my strategy. Do I really want to sit down at 3 p.m. and watch coverage?
No, you occupy yourself.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
this is the compromise.
Yeah, this is me doing the Eddie Murphy pointing at my forehead thing.
Yeah.
Like this is, and by the time we get home, we'll make some snackies or whatever.
And she'll be into it. She's into the game.
She'll be
of
into
course.
it, and yeah.
Yeah, it's not like she's trying to avoid the game. You're going to watch the game. You just have to. You're pre-gaming at the Memorial Art Gallery. I guess there are worse ways to spend your Sunday afternoon. I mean, I might be in the garage trying to fix a broken garage door opener. I'd rather be at the Memorial Art Gallery, to be honest.
I tried to rescue you off the ledge. I even put the brakes on during your story. I'm like, and I had no idea where that story was going to go. Taking things like that to the air is always...
It's fine. It's fine.
It's
fine, but I'll call you if I need a place to stay. Spencer German from 92.3 The Fan. The Locked On Browns podcast as well will be our guest next hour here. We're going to get into the mind of the Browns organization. When we hear one thing from a player, Myles Garrett, I'm requesting a trade, and we hear another thing from a GM and Barry who's saying we want him to retire a Brown and go straight from Cleveland to Canton. Who's really calling the shots with the Browns? Is it the GM and the head coach? Because I would imagine that the owner might have something to do with the decision-making there as well.
Well, and they're also in a good position picking number 2 overall for everything that went wrong. Hey, you can actually get a quarterback. Okay, number 1, is this really the year that you want a quarterback? But if it is, if you decide Shedeur Sanders is your guy, oh gosh, will Deion Sanders kind of allow that? I'm just curious what's being kind of said in Cleveland right now in regards to the draft. I have a few takes here coming up here as well. Danger 1 on the big game on Sunday, and then this came across today on TMZ, and well, if it's TMZ reporting this is not good for the person involved.
Let's give away a free pair of tickets to see Luke Bryan at Darien Lake on August 30th right now. Caller 5 at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. We'll get you a free pair of tickets. Luke Bryan coming to Darien Lake on August 30th. You can get tickets at livenation.com. You can win them for free right now when you're caller 5 at 866-4FAN.
You're listening to the And streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
From New Orleans today on Radio Row, Myles Garrett going on the Rich Eisen show. Garrett said his trade request is not a decision he takes lightly. Garrett also mentioned he reached out to LeBron James for advice. Steve Tasker today on One Bills Live discussing a possible trade.
Here's the thing you got to remember. The Bills are not perfectly positioned to make that trade, at least at the current moment. And there are other teams who are, with more cap space and better draft picks. Even if the Bills gave them 2 ones or whatever, somebody else's ones would be higher up towards the top of the draft. You could get a better player for that.
Hasn't been a good season for Syracuse basketball. Maybe things turn around tonight. Number 2, Duke, the opponent at the Dome. Sabres have now won 4 in a row. They play at Nashville on Saturday. The Amerks back home Friday night against Belleville. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
The Cleveland Browns reportedly are saying they are not entertaining offers for Myles Garrett, even though Myles Garrett this week demanded a trade.
And I think a move for a Myles Garrett type, a Max Crosby type, that's the kind of elite playmaker that you just say, cap be damned, we're going to figure this out. Go out and get a big-time playmaker that you hope can change the math when it comes to these big games against the Chiefs.
You're never one player away. Okay, that's a dangerous mindset to get into. I don't think that's rational.
Mike Danger.
I mean, I would expect that the Bills would be in full pursuit, trying to get this done.
Gene Battaglia.
Meetings and conversations are for losers. Ooh. Doers don't have conversations. They just kind of get it done. Don't tell me how much work went into the labor. Just show me the baby.
Take action or hit the bricks because you are going out.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Welcome back into the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching on our YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Put a little wind in the sail. We appreciate that. The Fan Rochester, our channel on YouTube and on Twitch. You can always hear us on the free-to-download Odyssey app and your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan.
Last night might have been the first night that actually you and I both sat down to watch a Sabre game.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah, I did. And again, I called them an unserious franchise after what we saw on Sunday. And I will continue to say that they are an unserious franchise because what did they do just a few seconds into the game? They did what they should have done on Sunday instinctually. They did it because they were told, hey, I better see some fire. I better see somebody throw down. You better exact some revenge on Columbus. It has nothing to do with it.
No, Columbus probably. And you know what? They were probably coached up going in like, hey, this team might be.
Yeah,
so Columbus, I don't even know who their tough guy was. They started him. Gilbert starting. Okay, here we go.
Yeah,
we're gonna do this for the fans. And I think you, the Sabre fan, are smarter than that.
Yeah.
To buy that.
Well, when they tied it up on just a wicked goal in the second period, I'm like, here we go. It's a very good first period team. The Sabres have a good first period goal differential, and they find ways to just give up big leads. And it was tied up. I'm like, here we go. And, Alex Tuck comes to life. They get the win. 4 games in a row now for the Sabres. I'm not going to call them red hot. No. I'll call the Amerks red hot. Amerks are red hot. Amerks have some momentum, even though the All-Star break might kill that momentum. They have momentum going into the break. And you feel something different about this Amerks team based on what they did instinctually against an opponent in Hartford a couple of weeks ago.
Isaac Rosane today, by the way, named the HL Player of the Week. So not a bad week for him, All-Star, and then he was up there last night helping out in the win.
We will get to Spencer German at 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland, also the host of the Locked On Browns podcast. Gino, you mentioned in your update that Myles Garrett was on with Rich Eisen today, and mentioning that he doesn't take this stuff lightly. What I want to learn from Spencer is who's really calling the shots? Is it really Andrew Berry, who said famously,
my anticipation and expectation is that he'll have a direct ticket from Cleveland to Canton at the end of this year and expect him to be here, and retire Brown, quite frankly.
Cleveland to Canton is something that Myles Garrett used in his statement that he issued when he talked about wanting to win a championship. He's not there to go from Cleveland to Canton. That was never the goal. The goal was to compete for a Super Bowl.
Well, another thing coming out of that conversation with Eisen today was that Garrett did meet with the finger quote higher-ups. So is that Barry? I would assume. Does that mean the owner? Not sure. But the alignment there of their vision and his vision, not the same.
And I wonder, I wonder who's calling the shots.
Well, I would say this. Shame on you, Cleveland, because this is all preventable. He is the best player on your team. And sure, you want to be like, well, players are not allowed to dictate personnel. They're not. You could have sold him. You could have sat him down on the other side. You could have let him in the inner circle, but you didn't do that. So I'm led to believe that maybe this was salvageable. It's not now. And the question in my mind, and we'll talk to Spencer about this in a little bit, is, all right, are the Browns going to do the pig-headed thing? Well, actually, you're under contract for 2 years, and you're not going to go anywhere, so we'll see in Berea coming up. I hope they don't do that, but I could see easily that the Browns not honoring this wish, and we'll see a training camp.
There's another thing that crossed my feed today, Gino. You shared it with me, and it is disgusting. It is a disgusting display of alien behavior. It's the kind of thing that us peasants see. And there's a part of you that's impressed, and you see it, and you're like, wow, imagine what that would be like. But you can't imagine what it would be like.
No.
Because it's so out of the realm of your possibility, your scope, your frame of reference. You have no idea what it must be like to be Jaguars owner Shad Khan aboard his $360 million 400-foot super yacht, which is now parked in New Orleans.
That's a nice kind of place to go. You don't have to worry about a hotel. You have your security. This is courtesy of Darren Ravel sharing some of these stats on the super yacht. It has a helipad, first of all. Okay, because you're not going to be, you want to kind of jet in whenever and out. You need a helicopter to pair with that.
That's
okay.
right. How are we going to get to the super yacht if the super yacht is out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean? You got to take the chopper.
Well, and sometimes when you're in the ocean danger, it's a little chilly, right?
Sure.
Well, you got to have a fireplace in the super yacht, but not one, not two, not three, 4 fireplaces in a yacht.
Okay.
You've got a full gym. You've got other amenities.
Oh, tell me about the cryo chamber, because mine's been acting up a little bit. In my house, the cryo chamber that I have in my base, it's a little.
You've got to fix your garage door open.
I know. I've got a lot to work on here, but the cryo chamber is key. I mean, if I can't get the cryo chamber working, then I've got big problems.
You got a basketball court. You got a pickleball court.
Screw pickleball.
A sauna. You got a yoga studio.
Uh-huh.
This is the part. Like, how many people does this? Oh, 3 pools, too.
Three pools for a thing that sits on a body of water. You have 3 pools. Because you can't have 2. I mean, if you only have 2 pools, when you're floating in a body of water, you just look low rent. Got to have 3.
Sleeps 12. The crew is 37.
So there's a crew of 37 and 12 guests. So imagine if you tally all that up, there's actually probably like room for 40. I imagine the crew is staying on board the the Kismet?
Yeah, the crew of 37. Okay, so let's just stop right there. I would imagine the captain makes a decent salary. Like, let's just say for round numbers, the average employee makes $100,000 for Sean Khan. Every year, the crew is going to cost you $37 million? $37 million just for the staffing of that. Aliens.
No, 300. Well, I'm bad at math.
Yeah.
370,000? No, it's 100,000. That would be if it was.
Yeah. If you have 37 employees, 100,000, I'm saying as an average, salary.
Uh-huh.
These are not part-timers you're bringing in to run this.
Right.
I would imagine that the captain or the captains would make much more than that.
Sure. Yeah, just to fund the Kismet to be able to have it go out. You got a crew of 37 for your 12 guests. And as Ravel's like panning through and panning over across the 400-foot super yacht that is docked right now in New Orleans for the Super Bowl, you can hear like club music playing. Like it's got a vibe too, right? Like there's even a vibe. Like you're on the super yacht and it's got music pumping through the whole thing. And
who's in Shad's inner circle, right? Probably the Jets owner because he's got London ties, right? Like Woody Johnson's there bumping in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Like how many other owners are? I'll tell you who's on the S list. It's Ravel for reporting. Man.
Well, it is disgusting. Yeah. It's a disgusting display of wealth. And I imagine if you're a billionaire NFL owner, you have no self-awareness, but you have to have some self-awareness. And here's what I mean by that. You're Shad Khan, you own the Jags, and you're parking your $360 million 400-foot super yacht at the Super Bowl. It's not like it's not going to command attention. It's not like people aren't going to notice it. And at the same time, the Jags, the Bills, other teams that are going to be building new stadiums are going to ask you for that PSL, that bit of cash that to them is nothing. To you means a second mortgage on your house, but to them is nothing. So how do you get that fourth pool? You start charging PSLs. You got to get that fourth pool on your super yacht.
That's why maybe Shad Khan, maybe just keep that over in the Mediterranean or wherever it is that you would keep there. That's where Snyder, the Lady S, kind of goes around. And we're overdue for a super yacht update from the Pagulas, right?
I haven't done my research on that. I imagine it's built or it's been built. Or
I would think, to your point, you keep that quiet. You don't want any pictures. You don't want anything getting out. Like, hey, we want to ask you for this, but look where it's going to, folks.
It's sick. And if you think that Terry Pagula is different in some way than Shad Khan, guess again. He's not. I mean, there are going to be differences in their personalities and certainly differences in the way they acquired their wealth. But when you get to that level of wealth where you're talking about being worth billions with more money than you know what to do with, a crew of 37 just to get this thing on the water. Your super yacht has its own economy. We can't relate to that. Nobody can relate to that. They are aliens. They are aliens. They live an alien lifestyle that none of us can comprehend and wouldn't know what it was if we saw it. If you saw the super yacht, you'd probably do what Darren Ravel did. Let me take a video of this thing and pan across the whole thing. Look at this thing. This thing is impressive. 400-foot super yacht with 3 pools, 4 fireplaces, spa, sauna, cryo chamber, gym, yoga studio, basketball court, pickleball court, and, of course, a helipad. Disgusting. I mean, if you ever got invited, though, you're going, right? Like, if you ever got invited to a super yacht party, you're going. You have to go, right? You can't say no. If Shad, if you're listening, hey, I don't know if you know this or not, but we didn't crack the top 20 in Barrett's Media's afternoon drive sports talk shows, but give you guys in Rochester a little love. That it looks impressive, but it is disgusting. It is disgusting.
You got to have friends in radio that no, not even close.
In radio, no. In the music industry, maybe like by a few degrees of separation, maybe. Never in a million years have I thought of that kind of vessel for a party.
I would say safely you've never had a vessel like this pull into the port of Rochester. This is not the fast ferry, folks.
Oh, I was going to say, it's almost as impressive as the fast ferry. So what we need in this town is something that can get us across the lake fast so that people from Toronto can come here and we can go there with greater ease and luxury. We need a fast ferry. Screw the fast ferry. Get us the super yacht of Shad Khan, and let's have a party. Get us one of those, and jack up the price, and then only the elite are going across the pond to Toronto.
couple takes before we get to Spencer German from 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland. If you're one of those, and maybe you're just here like, I hope for a good game.
Just want it to be close.
You're lying.
Really?
You're lying to yourself. Like, if you're a Bills fan, you don't want a close game to the end. You want to see the Chiefs lose in heartbreaking fashion? Bucker missed chip shot field goal, a Mahomes pick? No. You want to see Philadelphia running up the score. Or maybe would you rather see an officiating gaffe against Kansas City in a close game? Now, as I'm talking this through, maybe I do want to see Kansas City lose a close game.
All I want to see is Saquon Barkley going off. I know it's unlikely because this is a good defense, and it's a defense that doesn't give up 100-yard games to rushers. But, yeah, Eagles blow up. I think all of us would sign up for that.
Well,
I would take it.
We got humbled by the Chiefs' ability to stop the tush-push and humbled by the ability to stop that fourth down play. How good is Kellen Moore? How good is the Eagles' offensive line?
Yeah, that's an interesting angle going into this game. Do the Eagles look at the way the Bills struggled with their version of the tush-push and go away from it in the Super Bowl?
Or are you running the fake tush-push? Like I figured that's what the Bills are setting up, and, well, they never did.
Yeah, what kind of stones does Kellen Moore have? Because we know the stones that Peterson had. I mean, calling the Philly special when they called the Philly special, I mean, when you talk about ballsy calls, that's one of the ballsiest. I'd put that up there with Sean Payton and the onside kick, to start the second half. Those calls happen, and if they are executed, they define you. And if they don't happen, they are not forgotten either. Remember Tom Brady not being able to haul in the pass from so. Be careful what you wish for, but if you're Kellen Moore, do you have the stones to go away from the tush push or call some sort of trick play based off of what the tush push looks like?
I think Philadelphia, that Jalen Hurts might go to the right side, where Josh Allen every time on the little tush push he goes to the left.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations today going out to Gisele Bundchen and her boyfriend Joaquin Valente. That's the jiu-jitsu guy. Gisele delivering her third child this week.
Really?
And we don't know if it's a boy or a girl, so therefore I can't tell you any other details. TMZ doesn't even know, Danger. But part of me is thinking, is this Gisele wanting to win the news cycle? Dropping the first baby photos, I don't know, Sunday morning, a day where your ex is calling the game.
Yeah.
That would be vicious. I said this last week about Andy Reid, knowing what Reid went through with his sons. You wouldn't want to trade places with Andy Reid. I would not want to trade places with Tom Brady.
Are you kidding? I would trade places with Tom Brady today. Whatever, yes. But I don't.
What, and watch your ex kind of...
Don't care. What? So I'm Tom Brady. Are you kidding me? Do you think? I mean, yes, she's a supermodel. Yes, she's worth more than I am, and yes, she's the mother of some of my children. But
she's gone.
Now she's gone. Yeah. Now she's gone. But if you're Tom Brady and you're living the life that he's living right now, yeah, I would trade places with Tom Brady. I don't think he's got anything to complain about. I like your theory. I absolutely. I just got the sense that Gisele got tired of playing second fiddle to the NFL. So she does have a thing against the NFL, against football, against the lifestyle.
And somebody, whose jiu-jitsu guy hasn't paid attention to them. Honestly, that's somebody. You had a spark with somebody. This was your option, and let me go down this road.
I'm interested to hear how Brady does. And I feel bad for Greg Olsen, who I know spent some time on Radio Row, and he's not on the call after calling the Super Bowl just a couple of years ago and doing a great job. I still think he's really, really good. Brady, I think, has gotten better as the year has gone on, but I still think he's a tick behind what Olsen was. Now, if you believe what he's saying and you believe everything that we're hearing, nothing is going to change. And he's going to continue to be a minority owner with the Raiders, and he's going to continue to do what he does with Fox. And he's been open and transparent about the potential conflicts of interest doing both the jobs with Commissioner Goodell. Goodell even referenced it during his State of the League address earlier this week in New Orleans. So I think it's fair to believe that if Tom Brady wasn't good this year, he is going to get better at this job. And eventually we forget that Tom Brady was this the best quarterback of all time, and he becomes pretty good at being a broadcaster if he puts the time, effort, and work into it the way he did into his football career.
Well, they kind of dropped the rule for this week, so he's going to be allowed to be in those broadcast meetings and talking to Reed and Mahomes and Sirianni, et cetera, et cetera. So he's actually going to be allowed to look at film and do all the things a normal broadcaster would, which that's just kind of smart business. But then on the other hand, if you're the Chiefs, wait a second. You better not be filing any of this away next year.
Right. Or if you're the Chiefs, you're not telling them anything. You're just giving them every cliche, every stock answer. You're not giving them anything. We got to get to Spencer German. You can hear him on the Locked On Browns podcast in the free-to-download Odyssey app, also on our Odyssey Sports sister station, 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland. What's it going to take to get Myles Garrett out of Cleveland and to the Buffalo Bills? Kind of a trade request do you think moves the needle, or do you believe the words of Andrew Berry, who threw out not even for 2 first-round picks are we moving on from Myles Garrett? We'll get his take on that. We'll discuss a little bit about what's going on there in Cleveland here and what could be coming ahead for the Browns with Spencer German of 92.3 The Fan next on the Sports Bar.
Sports Update.
Myles Garrett today going on the Rich Eisen show, saying his trade request is not a decision he takes lightly. Garrett also mentioning that he reached out to LeBron James for advice. Spencer German from 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland joining us next year in the Sports Bar. It hasn't been a good season for Syracuse basketball. Perhaps tonight could be the signature moment, the Orange hosting number 2 Duke. Tage Thompson trying to work his way back. Head coach Lindy Ruff and more.
Thompson skated this morning. Had a good day. It's got to go through, the protocol and the testing and stuff, but really felt good. So encouraged.
Sabres have won 4 in a row. They play at Nashville on Saturday. The Amherst home against Belleville on Friday. That's the only game for Mike Leone's team this weekend. Gene Battaglia and the sports leader, The Fan, Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
My anticipation expectation is that he'll have a direct ticket from Cleveland to Canton at the end of this year, and expect him to be here, and retire Brown, quite frankly.
There's Browns general manager Andrew Barry. From Cleveland to Canton, a line that might have rubbed Myles Garrett the wrong way. We welcome in Spencer German from our Odyssey Sports sister station, 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland. You can hear him on the Locked On Browns podcast and the free-to-download Odyssey app as well. Spencer, the GM is saying one thing, the player is requesting another thing. A lot of people seem to believe that the player will get his way on this, and a lot of teams like the Bills are salivating at the opportunity of going after a player of Myles Garrett's caliber. Just how real is this? Who do you believe?
Yeah, I think it's very real. I know literally within the last 90 minutes or so, Myles actually appeared on the Rich Eisen show out at Radio Row in New Orleans and sort of elaborated on his statement that he put out on Monday. And so, yeah, people are sort of speculating that it might have to do with just a contract negotiation. And I kind of doubted that from the start, largely just because if that's all it was, he kind of made his point at the end of the regular season when he talked about how, he'd be willing to play somewhere else if the goals don't really align between the organization and what he wants. So, yeah, I think based on what he said today on the Rich Eisen show, he's kind of drawn that line in the sand and said, listen, I only have such a long period of time that I can, so long of a period of time that I can be playing at the top of my game and that I can contribute to a Super Bowl team. And that's what's always been about for me. He talked about how he talked to kind of his inner circle, and interestingly enough, actually talked to who I knew we all know he has a good relationship with, LeBron James, about what it kind of looks like leaving and how he went about making his decision on that. So, it seems like this is very, very real. And the question I think now just becomes, do the Browns at some point budge and pony up and actually trade him and embrace the fact that they probably just need to start rebuilding, or do they play sort of do they have this standoff with him where they try to convince him to stay and maybe make him the highest paid defensive player in the league?
Yeah, I guess that's where my next question was going to be, Spencer, is that we don't know too much about the Haslams. We know, okay, they'll pay top dollar as they did for Deshaun Watson, but can they be just kind of, if the player's kind of saying this, and I think the fan base is kind of, all right, we may not like it, but at least we understand, will the Haslams dig in here, and could this potentially drag out into the summer?
It's a good question. The biggest problem for the Browns is, given how they do these contracts and they tack a lot of voided years on them and push money down the line. This is kind of like a new phenomenon in the NFL in more recent years. The Saints do it a lot. The Browns do it a lot. There is a $36 million cap charge that comes if you trade him now. If you can trade him after June 1st, you can sort of split that money up between 2 years, and that maybe helps your cause a little bit better. But that's kind of the biggest problem they face from a financial standpoint. And I get it, they don't want to lose their franchise player. And if you're Andrew Barry, you're sort of on the hot seat here going into the season. You have to figure this thing out. And if the two things on your resume are you made what is now, I think without question, the worst trade in NFL history, and you drove away a generational player like Myles Garrett, that's not really a recipe for getting another job somewhere else ever again. So, he's got to sort of think about what's best for the organization.
And I get that. And I don't know, maybe there is some sort of kumbaya that can happen if they come back to the table. Maybe there's some Hail Mary move they can make to bring a different quarterback in. I don't really see what that is. But, if Miles is saying he feels like their plans or their situations don't align, then I think that kind of opens the door for the Browns to just have to kind of embrace, this is where we're at, and unfortunately we put ourselves in this position, and we got to find our fastest way out of it, which feels like it's going to be trading Myles Garrett, get as many picks as you can, and trying to sort of rebuild the way that teams tend to do in the NFL.
Spencer, is it Barry, or is Barry and Stefanski to a degree, are they both good employees, meaning that the owners want it a certain way, the owners are enamored with certain players, and they're just going to echo and do what the owners actually want? And I only bring it up because I find it really hard to believe that a guy that I think is respected and good at his job like Kevin Stefanski would have been okay with the notion of moving off of Baker Mayfield and bringing in Deshaun Watson. And I would also imagine that trading away, one of the best defensive players, if not the best defensive player in the league, may not be conducive to winning football games.
Sorry, yeah. I think there's a lot of layers to that question. Based on what we know about the situation and the organization, anybody who speaks on the Deshaun Watson situation, Stefanski, Barry, we only hear from Jimmy Haslam every now and then, but even when he talks about it, they talk about it being like a group decision, that they were all involved in the process of bringing in Deshaun Watson and that they all played a role in it. I find it hard to believe of that trio of the brass that leads the Browns. I find it hard to believe that Kevin Stefanski was that adamant for Deshaun Watson, because nothing about his game fits what Kevin Stefanski really wants to do from an offensive standpoint. And if they were moving on from Baker, which I didn't blame them at the time for trying to move off of Baker and upgrade the position, they obviously just picked the wrong person. But nothing that Deshaun did in his game was a fit for Kevin Stefanski, and we saw that play out over the last couple of years when they had more of a Kevin Stefanski style offense in 2023, and he started to show some signs he could do. I think maybe late in his before he got hurt with the shoulder injury, but it still wasn't great. And then this past year it was a disaster when they sort of tried to blend his system with what Deshaun likes. So I of the three, I think Kevin Stefanski probably had was more so the one going along with I'm on board with this decision. I'm just going to be a good employee here and sort of make it work and trying to do the best he could. We've heard that there was a lot of Jimmy Haslam driving that bus, but we've also heard links that Andrew Berry, even going back to his days with the Eagles, was enamored by Deshaun Watson and had sort of this infatuation with him being a quarterback potential for any team he ever got to oversee. So I don't know, we don't know the full picture of that, and I look forward to hearing more stories and the documentaries or the discoveries that are done on this trade and how it blew up so royally in their face and what went into making that decision. But my understanding of it is there was some of it being Jimmy Haslam driving the bus, and he obviously is the one who ponied up the money, because if you remember, the Browns are out. They weren't even going to get Deshaun Watson, and then he was supposed to be an Atlanta Falcon, and then all of a sudden they came back to the table at $230 million guaranteed, and it was okay, well, I guess I'm going to the Browns then. So obviously he was I think the driver of the ship largely because he's the one in charge of the money. But it sounds like Barry played his role in it. And I think Kevin Stefanski at the three probably is the one who was mostly just going along with it.
Spencer, I find it interesting that Myles Garrett reaching out, disclosing that he's talked to LeBron James. A big difference in their two situations. LeBron was a free agent. Myles Garrett is not. But how much leverage do you think Garrett has? And I'll draw the example of the Hassan Reddick deal between the Eagles and the Jets. Hey, Reddick made it clear he wanted a new contract, and the Jets weren't going to give it to him, and, well, they kind of wasted a year, did they not? So with that in mind, I can't imagine any team trading for Myles Garrett. You're negotiating with the Browns, certainly, but a smart team would certainly want to sit down with Garrett, would they not?
Oh, for sure. I mean, Garrett has never been a bad soldier in any way in a locker room, so I don't think it'd be an issue if you talk to a team and made it clear I want to sign an extension and all those things. I'm sure they can work all that stuff out. I think the big question just kind of becomes from the Browns standpoint, you asked about leverage. I think Garrett has kind of he's reached the peak of the leverage that he has. The most he can do is say, I want to be traded. It's up to the Browns to kind of go from there. And for the Browns standpoint, on some level, I'm sure they're going to, if they decide to trade him, they would probably try to do as good as for Myles Garrett as they could. But again, Andrew Berry going into like a year where he's got to really, prove that he should keep his job and his, job's on the line here. He can't just like trade Myles Garrett for peanuts either, because like that just makes the embarrassing situation that they're already in, that just makes it 1,000 times worse. So he's got to get the best value. So like he at some point, yeah, like you can still care about Myles Garrett and be like, he did right by us and he was always good when he was here. He'll go down as a franchise great, even would have been if he finished his career somewhere else. But at the same time, like, you got to do what's best for the Browns. And so whoever's going to come to the table with, like, the best offer, and I've kind of said I think any offer has to start with 2 first-rounders. I don't know, like, the parameters around that. Browns fans have thrown out, like, we usually get 3 first-rounders, and that's just never going to happen. But I think 2 first-rounders is probably a good starting place. There's probably some pick swaps that go on, whether the Browns throw, like, a third-rounder into the deal or something like that to up the ante, and maybe they get, like, a fifth-rounder back or whatever. But, yeah, like, this is about draft pick accumulation if you pull the trigger on the deal. And so, yeah, like he's exercised as much leverage as he has at this point to sort of sum up the answer here, because, he doesn't have a no trade clause. Like they ultimately call the shots on whether they will trade him and if they do trade him, where he goes.
Spencer German, 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland, joining us in the Sports Bar Danger and Battaglia. It's smart. You said that at least 2 first-round picks are going to be required for a trade to be consummated. And you heard Andrew Berry say, we're not trading him, not even for 2 first-round picks, which I think tells everybody, we're not listening to you unless you come to the table with at least 2 first-round picks. Would there be another player that would have to be in consideration there as well? Because, lots of Bills fans are salivating at the idea of giving up draft capital, but not only giving up draft capital, sending something to Cleveland in return that could actually sweeten the pot. Are there needs that the Browns have on their roster that when you look at the Bills roster, you could be like, oh, that guy would fit in really well here?
Yeah, there's definitely some need. I mean, like we've all, this has been a conversation for us here in Cleveland for the last, month, whether like how are the Browns a quarterback away, that sort of thing. And I think the answer to that is, a quarterback solves a lot. We saw that with the Commanders this year. Sorry, I always want to go back to the old name. The Commanders this year, but like they still have other issues. They need a left tackle. They got to figure out what they're doing there. They need more wide receiver help. I think they really need a running back. I've been saying I think Nick Chubb gets re-signed here because he's always talked about finishing his career with the Browns. But I also think, like, can you depend on him to be like a lead back anymore? I'm not so sure. They have some needs on defense, especially if Myles Garrett's now out of the picture. Even when he was in the picture, I kind of felt like defensive end is still a need. They could need something they could need some help at linebacker because Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah may not be even able to play football anymore. His situation is very ominous after he suffered a neck injury this year. So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely needs up and down the roster, some more pressing than others. But, yeah, I would imagine, teams looking to make a deal, they might want to try to throw a player in as a sweetener and see what they can get. But if I'm the Browns too, like, that's nice. I think the goal ultimately should be, though, like, picks are the priority. So, yeah, like if you want to throw in like an unknown quarterback. I was having a conversation with someone who covers the Lions, and he was saying, like, what if the Lions made a deal and they threw in like Hendon Hooker? And I was like, yeah, I mean, when it comes to the quarterback position for the Browns right now, I don't think there's any bad ideas because they got to figure out something.
Oh no, we can come up with a bad idea. Yeah. You want Mitch Trubisky? He's yours.
Yeah, we're good on that. He's from Cleveland, but I think we're good on Mr. Trubisky. Yeah, so I guess you're right. There is a limit to that, but yeah, I think it starts with obviously like picks being the main asking price, and if teams have players that maybe are enticing, we'll see what that looks like.
Yeah, Spencer, we did take a caller like, yeah, Mitch Trubisky, a couple draft picks, and Kyrie Elam. Like, no. There was a caller on One Bills Live, a caller on our show too. And you probably heard this. Just give this to us straight. Both callers saying, I don't know if we want to do this because there's a character concern, and they're citing the suspension and the Mason Rudolph incident. And as I just ask you straight, outside of that, are there character concerns with Myles Garrett?
I don't think so. I mean, there was another incident a couple years ago where he was like speeding, like racing or something with his car, and it flipped, and he came out of it okay, luckily. And that was like during the season, and it was kind of like a weird thing. And we spent a couple weeks talking about like, Myles Garrett's leadership qualities, but that was also several years ago. I think he's different. He's changed from some of these past experiences. He has taken on more of like a leadership role with the team the last couple of years. And I mean, his teammates speak glowingly of him as that guy, kind of being like a vocal guy in the defense. I also think like this year, he was one of the most adamant people, like after every single loss, and then just kind of compounding on each other, talking about like why you still got to play hard and why you can't just throw in the towel in the season. So, you know, he's always kind of carried that mentality. I understand like people are going to point to those things. I think a lot of that stuff's been like left where it was. Like after the whole incident, after he served the suspension, like it was what it was. I don't know that anyone's like revisited those things and been like, yeah, you know, he's not a good guy. There's no sense that I get from around the league or around the organization that that's true for Myles Garrett. So I would say all around, like whoever gets him, whether it's the Bills or somebody else, you're getting a high quality character player who's bought into trying to help the team win. And that's, I think, at the end of the day, what anybody wants.
Spencer, what about mileage? Because a lot of people immediately wanted to draw a correlation between, you know, this trade request and the trade of Khalil Mack a few years ago, with the big difference to me being, Khalil Mack had 4 years under his belt. And Garrett's been in the league a little bit longer now. He hasn't been an injury risk. I think he's missed a total of like 2 games in the last 4 seasons, which isn't bad at all. But what about that tread on the tire? Does he still have a lot of game left? I mean, clearly the results were there again this year.
Yeah, I don't think that's a question. You brought it up. Like, he hasn't missed a lot of games the last couple of years. And there's always a little bit of nervousness when a player's reaching the age of 30, right? Like, that something could change. And obviously there's always the risk of a season-ending injury that just derails somebody's career as a whole. But, you know, Myles, as the kids would say, is one of these guys who's, like, built different. And I mean that in, like, not like the sort of fun sense that the kids say it, but more so just like he truly is like a specimen of an athlete. Like, he is of that ilk of like LeBron, where like he's just special. And so like he is somebody who takes care of his body. He, especially because he has LeBron as kind of like a mentorship type thing, as a mentorship type role in his life. So yeah, like I'm not worried about that for him, whether he's in Cleveland or he's elsewhere. Again, you know, 30 is always kind of that lurking boogeyman for people when it comes to players deteriorating, and that could happen. Like, maybe I just feel like with Garrett, it's bound to be more of like a steady decline rather than just like he falls off a cliff. So durability has been something that certainly has been a calling card of his these last several years, and anybody that gets him would, I think, would reap the benefits of him being able to play for most of the season.
You know, it's kind of a bummer for Browns fans too. Is all right, you're picking number 2 that would have been really nice last year. This year there is no surefire 1-2 at quarterback in this draft. Just your thoughts here on what the Browns should do, what they might end up doing, and what is the concern about Deion Sanders here? Is there a concern knowing that, okay, he has clout, he has Wade? Is he going to use that Wade perhaps to prevent his son, or maybe even Travis Hunter, from becoming a Cleveland Brown?
So Andrew Berry talked about this at the Senior Bowl, and he says there's not a concern. Like, he made it seem like there's, you know, it's a non-issue, which leads me to believe, because they did meet with Shador at the Shrine Bowl, that they've already had those conversations. So it doesn't, to me, my read on it is that it wouldn't be an issue. And I think there's another element to this, which is, I don't think they did this on purpose, but they did name Bill Musgrave, their quarterback coach, a couple weeks back. And that's notable because Bill Musgrave played with Deion in college, or sorry, not in college, in the NFL with the 49ers the year they won the Super Bowl. And there's actually a clip that kind of made the rounds where Deion talks about, like, one of his favorite Super Bowl memories was that Bill Musgrave, who was the scout team quarterback, played in that game late because they were blowing out the Chargers. And it was kind of like a cool thing that guy who like worked hard to get them ready for the game was actually playing in it. So, you know, there's a nice relationship there that maybe helps the Browns' case, but I don't know that it would have been an issue before that anyway. But the biggest thing for me is, like you said, there's just this year's class of quarterbacks is just such an unknown. And, you know, you see Myles Garrett requesting a trade. The Sanders family isn't really one to like stand by and like watch an organization like, you know, flounder. And so the second things get dicey or rough, like, could they sort of force their way out together as well? Like, that's an interesting part of this. So I don't know, man. Like, it's a tough situation to be in because they need a quarterback, and the ultimate way to like inject some life into your organization is hit on a quarterback. But it kind of feels like this isn't the year for that. So I've been advocating even before the Myles Garrett trade request that they should probably trade back from 2 and just try to like fill out the roster elsewhere and make it work for a year with like a veteran. And if they, play their cards right and they accumulate enough picks, maybe if they're like an average team next year, they can still trade up to get that quarterback next year. So we'll see what they decide. But I think with the Myles Garrett stuff in mind, this obviously I think changes the math on everything anyway, where they probably just do need to embrace, a rebuild and probably not take a quarterback this year anyway.
Spencer, we talked earlier this hour about the disgusting wealth of Shad Khan and his super yacht parked there in New Orleans for the Super Bowl. And we're looking at it, we're thinking about it, like these billionaire owners, when is enough too much? I mean, you can't have just 3 pools on your super yacht. How do you get the 4th? Oh, you charge PSLs, or you upgrade your stadium, or you build a new stadium. And I imagine that that's still something that people are talking about around Cleveland. I just wanted to get an update on what the Haslams might have in mind for a new stadium in Cleveland. And I certainly would believe that if there's any ask for any sort of public money, that it helps even a little bit. It's not right, but it helps if your team is relevant and winning and has a glimmer of hope for its future.
Yeah. So, the Haslams have pretty much finalized their plans on their plan is to build a dome in Brook Park, which is a suburb of Cleveland near the airport on the west side. It's literally like 5 minutes actually from like their team facility anyway. So it's really close to where they sort of run operations regardless. And part of the lure of like a dome for them is, you guys are obviously familiar with like Foxborough and how it's like so far removed from downtown Boston, but they have like shopping and hotels. They're kind of envisioning that same sort of thing. Like they want a whole plaza that's about like the game day experience, but also a venue that can be used year round to make money with and draw in Final Fours. Maybe the NFL throws them a bone of at least hosting one Super Bowl because they have a dome facility, those types of things. So that's their plan. From a public money standpoint, I know there's still a lot of that stuff that's kind of ongoing because the city keeps pushing back saying they don't want the team to move from downtown, even though they can't really support the team downtown anyway. So it's like a whole political game, as I'm sure you guys are aware how those things go. So they're still sort of sorting through some of that stuff, but the plan is for it to be, a mix of public and private. The Haslam's funding a lot of it. The state is already committed a certain amount of money, and they're trying to get the local money sort of committed as well. So they're still sorting through those things. But you're right, like that all plays into, I think, this current state of the Browns as well, because as they think about that stadium, the plan would be to open in 2029. And, if you're doing PSLs, which I'm imagining they will, if you're going to have higher ticket sales, like you need to think about how this team's going to look by then. And, delaying that process might not be the smartest move. Like if you want to get people to buy into a new stadium and all that, maybe it is time to just start fresh and try to build this thing back up. So by the time that stadium opens, you're in better shape.
What's it like having other fan bases salivate over your team's best player, Spencer?
Well, I laughed because, this all came out during Super Bowl week, and it was like, this is the only time the Browns are ever going to be talked about at the Super Bowl. So, they're like the talk of the town, and they're not even playing in the game. But no, I mean, I don't know. It kind of feels bittersweet because, it's great that everyone wants your player. But at the same time, I think the ominous feeling of how this Deshaun Watson situation led to all this and ruined 3 potential years you wasted 3 years of Myles Garrett's prime. You wasted Nick Chubb's prime. You wasted the prime of a bunch of other players. And it all culminates in like, not only did you now make the worst trade in NFL history, but you also drove away the second best player in franchise history behind Jim Brown, I would say. It's kind of more of an unfortunate feeling, a somber feeling, because Browns fans, I mean, there was more apathy about this team, which is hard to say in Cleveland because, this city loves that team so much. There was so much apathy about this team this year, and the one thing that gave you hope was you had people like Myles Garrett on the roster, and now that might be gone too. So I certainly feel for the fans and the fan base that they're kind of having to reconcile with all this, and it's not really any of their fault at all.
Do you think it gets ugly? Like there's a world that exists where a trade doesn't happen. He's still a Cleveland Brown, and training camp opens, and he doesn't show up. I mean, could you see that happening? Could you see the Browns flexing a little bit there, given that Garrett has kind of done all he can do from a leverage standpoint?
Yeah, it's interesting. I try to think about what that looks like. I guess it looks like holding out and not showing up. The one solution to all this is maybe they give him like a crazy contract that brings him back. Money always can change people's minds, I guess. So
Sure.
maybe if they give him like the most ridiculous contract ever, maybe that smooths things over. But this does feel like it's too far gone. So yeah, I guess it looks like holding out, and then by then I would imagine the Browns that's the thing, like because of how the fan base feels about this team right now, and they're fed up with just everything that's transpired the last couple of years, and the fact that they are now having to potentially lose their best player. I think it almost makes it worse if they, sort of railroad Miles' wishes, because you're just going to lose more fans that way who kind of want to see Miles have success somewhere, or do what he wants to do, and they don't want to make him feel like he's like a prisoner to a team that he doesn't want to be part of. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic that way. I would imagine by then they'll have it worked out, and probably he'll be traded. But it's crazy to think about what it could look like if they actually don't budge on this.
Spencer German, 585 Roots for sure. Tell everybody when they may catch you on 92.3 The Fan. Also, now the Locked On Browns podcast. How often does that drop?
Yeah. Well, Locked On Browns is every day, so you can just find the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts. And I'm hosting tomorrow night on 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland if you want to hear more of my thoughts on the Myles Garrett situation, and probably talk some Cavs too, if any of you, anyone in Rochester or Western New York are Cavs fans as well. So appreciate you guys.
Spencer, it's great, man. Continue the great work in Cleveland. We're proud of you, and thanks for making time for us this afternoon in the Sports Bar.
Absolutely, guys. I always love coming on. Always a pleasure.
You got it. There he is, Spencer German at 92.3 The Fan. You can hear him on the Locked On Browns podcast and the free-to-download Odyssey app as well.
I think they're moving them. They have to. If they are... But the question is, we don't know much about Haslam, right? Is he going to dig in, or is he just going to say, I'm going to offer him the Deshaun Watson contract, basically?
It's funny. I believe the GM when he says we're not trading him, we want him to go from Cleveland to Canton. I believe all of that, but I also believe that when he says we're not even trading him for 2 first-round picks, that he is throwing out a line that GM would bite at. Okay, 2 first-rounders and what else to get him? A team like the Bills should be asking that question. And does it get ugly? Does it get ugly to the point where he doesn't get dealt because for one reason or the other the offer isn't rich enough for the Browns to accept, and he ends up a Brown this summer going into training camp on the same deal and holding out? I mean, we don't see a lot of that in the NFL anymore, right? Like holdouts, the Son Reddick holdout was justified. Like, you got a new team, you didn't get a new deal, you thought you were getting a new deal, I'm not playing until I get my new deal. Justified or not. I mean, that's just the way it went. But Garrett is not Hassan Reddick. He's special, and he is a star. He's going to command that attention. I don't know how long this drags out, but if I'm Brandon Beane, a week ago you're talking about how players like this, if you would love a player like that, would you love a player like Myles Garrett? I know Brandon Beane's answer would be, heck yeah. Well, go get him. Go get him.
You don't think Sean McDermott wants that?
Oh. Exquisite. It makes everything on your defense better. Everything. Every layer, every player, they all get better when you add somebody of Myles Garrett's caliber. I would be going nuts trying to get a deal done.
If the Bills landed Myles Garrett, would they be the Super Bowl favorites next year?
Yep.
Even ahead of Kansas City.
I think so. Yep.
I agree.
Yes. You said it earlier this week. Cooper Kupp is available. Don't want him. Don't need him.
Nope.
Offense is fine. We scored 30 points a game with frickin' Mac Hollins. Okay? We're fine. We're good. Offensive line, good. Running game, good. Josh Allen, exceptional. Let's get it right on defense. Because what's changing on the offensive side of the ball? Nothing.
Yeah, I spend a few draft picks, maybe fortify, definitely draft a wide receiver.
Sure. But aside from that, everything's the same. It's still running through Josh. It's still balanced. It's still Joe Brady. Is it Joe Brady with a year of experience, another year of experience under his belt? No, go get your guy. I love the prospect of it. We'll see if it shakes out. I love Spencer coming in and joining us here to kind of lay out what it might take to get Myles Garrett out of Cleveland. Happy Hour is next. We have time for your calls if you want to join us at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326. Spencer said he didn't want Mitch Trubisky. I'm kind of I don't understand why you wouldn't want Mitch Trubisky. Okay. Trubisky and Kyrie Elam. Can we unload all of our garbage on Cleveland? We'll take your calls. You can join us at 866-4326. 866-4FAN.
9BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Defensive end Myles Garrett going on the Rich Eisen show today, saying his trade request is not a decision he takes lightly. Garrett also mentioning they reached out to LeBron James for advice. Steve Tasker today on One Bills Live discussing what that trade might look like.
Here's the thing you got to remember. The Bills are not perfectly positioned to make that trade, at least at the current moment. And there are other teams who are, with more cap space and better draft picks. Even if the Bills gave him 2 ones or whatever, somebody else's ones would be higher up towards the top of the draft. You get a better player for that.
Should be a big crowd tonight at the Dome. The Orange taking on the number 2 team in the nation, Duke. That's a 7 o'clock tip time. Sabres have now won 4 in a row. They're next in action against Nashville on Saturday. The Amherst just one game this weekend, Friday night at home against Belleville. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader. The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
The Cleveland Browns reportedly are saying they are not entertaining offers for Myles Garrett, even though Myles Garrett this week demanded a trade.
And I think a move for a Myles Garrett type, a Max Crosby type, that's the kind of elite playmaker that you just say, Cap be damned, we're going to figure this out. Go out and get a big-time playmaker that you hope can change the math when it comes to these big games against the Chiefs.
You're never one player away. Okay, that's a dangerous mindset to get into. I don't think that's rational.
Mike Danger.
I mean, I would expect that the Bills would be in full pursuit, trying to get this done.
Gene Battaglia.
Meetings and conversations are for losers.
Ooh.
Doers don't have conversations. They just kind of get it done. Don't tell me how much work went into the labor. Just show me the baby.
Take action or hit the bricks because you are going out.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Happy hour in the sports bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us. Thanks for spending some time with us on your ride home at 95.7 FM, AM 950. Maybe you're listening in the free-to-download Odyssey app. We appreciate that. And just by listening, you could get that trip to Vegas, the ultimate March trip with your boys to Vegas. We'll tell you more about that before 6 o'clock. The YouTube channel is up and live. We are streaming at The Fan Rochester on YouTube and Twitch. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
All right, so we've been chewing here on the Myles Garrett story. Max Crosby, they're all nice out in Vegas. Could there be another option here? I'm just going to read you the headline on ESPN.com right now. Bengals Trey Hendrickson, new deal or trade, the only viable options. Yeah, Hendrickson going on McAfee here today. Here's my quick take on this, Danger, where I think Myles Garrett, certainly money's always number one on it, but I think he's just sick of the show in Cleveland, and the clock is ticking. This comes off a little different to me, where the Bengals, they're still a contender as long as they have Joe Burrow, but they have a reputation of being cheap. And Trey Hendrickson probably thinks, hey, I should be paid accordingly for my services. And, hey, if I'm not going to do it, I know there's a lot of teams that would be interested in my services.
It feels like the team that would acquire, if this happens, that would acquire Hendrickson, it would be a consolation prize if Garrett eventually gets traded. I think he's a great player. I don't think he's what Myles Garrett is.
He's a year older, former third-round pick. I'm just going to look
So that's what pisses me off. What pisses me off is you get a guy like Hendrickson who's a third-round pick develop into the kind of player that he's become, and we're going to sit here and be like, oh, those guys just aren't available. Chris Jones, a second-round guy. Like, those guys are out there. They are out there.
I'd ask you to guess what his dead cap figure would be in Cincinnati. You would never get it. 2.6. Oh. He's a free agent, so he's entering the last year of his deal. So the Bengals, if they didn't pay T. Higgins, why would you think they would pay their soon-to-be 31-year-old defensive end? Now, look, if you don't get it, I mean, he's better than anything the Bills have right now. And I would say Greg Rousseau, too, included on that.
Yeah, I would view it as consolation. I think that's a consolation prize if you're not able to get Myles Garrett. I'm wondering, Myles Garrett, the no-trade clause. I mean, that's the thing about this, too, right? Like, if you're Andrew Berry and you have the framework for an unbelievable trade for Myles Garrett, and Garrett sees the team and he's like, yeah, no, I don't have any desire.
You have to look at what the Jets and how they bungled that whole Hassan Reddick deal. That's Spencer. He was great coming on with us, but I think actually Garrett does have that leverage in that case. Or he's just going to go there and be like, okay, I'll be here in a year, and then you gave up all the assets for, 2 years of service it would end up being?
And this comes, by the way, while he still has 2 years left on the 5-year, $125 million extension, which made him at the time the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. That was back in 2020. So it might be about the desire to make it to the Super Bowl. It might also be about, hey, it's time to pay me. It's time to pay me again.
For sure. Like, this is the time to capitalize.
Yeah.
Phone number 866-4FAN, 866-4326. I would suggest if you want to call us and talk to us, do it now. End of this hour, we're going to talk to RIT men's hockey coach Wayne Wilson. Tigers back home this weekend against Holy Cross. Tyler in Hilton. Hey, Tyler, what's up, buddy?
Hey, guys. Hey, so my thoughts on the whole Myles Garrett thing is if I'm Brandon Beane, I'm doing, 1, 2, whatever you got to do for the first-round picks, because I don't think, besides Josh Allen, he doesn't have a phenomenal track record with first-round picks. And, you can look at Kyer Elam, even Tremaine Edmonds, who showed flashes of good and greatness at times, but really didn't pan out to what he should be. So if I'm Brandon Beane, and he's done okay in the latter rounds at times, but you don't get a guy like Myles Garrett in the first round. And even when you did draft high, they drafted Ed Oliver, who's been serviceable and shown flashes of good, but not to the level of Myles Garrett. And, not only is he a phenomenal player, but he makes your whole defense elevates them so much, and it would take pressure off of your safeties and your corners. So if I'm Brandon Beane, I'm doing whatever it takes to go get that guy.
Yeah, Tyler said that. Great call. I said that the day after the AFC Championship game. Bills need to learn from the Rams. F those picks. Time is now. Tyler, appreciate the call at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Yeah, you're not getting anywhere the talent that you would, but it's not only that. It's the salary cap. It's everything else that kind of goes into making a move like that.
It is funny that the Super Bowl is on Sunday. We've spent more time talking about the Cleveland Browns this week than we have about the Eagles and the Chiefs. That's where we are.
Well, I think we're kind of in tune with our audience.
Uh-huh.
Like I brought up to you, do we want to invite Binkley
No.
on? He wants to come on.
No. If they lose, yes. If they lose on Sunday, let's get Binkley on Monday.
Yes.
We want him on the following day. Yes. No. Not this week. Enjoy the game on Sunday. If they lose, yes. If they win, nah, we're good.
So do I give him a conditional invite? If they lose, you're coming on, Jay. No. He won't take that.
So. No. Don't. Your radio silence until after the game is over. When the clock reads 000, then we, and only then will we know what the fate of Jay Binkley, our nemesis, will be here in the sports bar. But I think talking about the Browns and having Spencer on to give us some clarity there, I think it's important, because you'll hear a lot of fans listen to the words of your general manager and want to hold him accountable to those words. And I think you should. I absolutely think you should. I think you should absolutely empty out your resources for a player like Myles Garrett. If he's available, you go get him. If you're Brandon Beane, follow your actions, follow your words with your actions. And his words were, would I love to have a player like that? Heck yeah. Okay, go get him. He did it with Von Miller. It's not impossible. It's not like he can't do it. What will it take? What will it take to pry Myles Garrett away from the Cleveland Browns? And, is Buffalo the kind of team, and I think it would be the kind of team that Myles Garrett would want to come to, because let's face it, if it is truly, I don't think it is truly about winning championships, but if it is partially about winning championships, you want to be with a team like the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, if we're missing an angle or you want to contribute, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Steve and Victor joining us. What's up, Steve?
Hey, so what you should do is, if that triple zeros on the clock and the Chiefs lose, just put up a tweet on Fan Rochester saying that Binkley's going to be a guest the next day, and just don't even tell him that he's going to be a guest, and he'll see the notification. And then, look at that. I got to be on there? Did I make this arrangement?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I like
Steve.
that.
Yeah, that's just that's some next level trolling, a little evil genius there by Steve. Appreciate that. Absolutely. Put a little reminder in your phone, Gino.
Binkley texted me last night. I guess, who was it? Somebody said Josh Allen should be the MVP. I don't know if that was like an olive branch. I think we're all past the MVP conversation.
Yeah, we're done with that.
Yeah.
And we'll find out tomorrow night. But I'm prepared to know that it's going to be Lamar Jackson, right? Lamar Jackson's the MVP. The biggest surprise would be, they're co-MVPs. That would be surprising.
I'd like to see Deion Dawkins get the Man of the Year.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
That would be cool. Certainly deserving. All right, so we've got Hendrickson now also requesting a trade, which seems like a evergreen kind of annual event in Cincinnati to go along with Myles Garrett. And ultimately, this is probably just about who has the bigger schlong and who's going to have the bigger contract when it's all said and done. Who's going to be making the most money for rushing the quarterback? Well, I'm articulate at best, Gino. What else we got going on?
What else? Well, we have this NBA trade deadline tomorrow. Kevin Durant says he doesn't want to go to Golden State. Okay, that's where we're at. Middleton goes from the Bucks to Washington. So,
really?
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing matters for the trade deadline. Like the deadline's tomorrow. Everything that happens between now and tomorrow doesn't matter. I mean, the Luka AD trade blew up the trade deadline. That was it. We're good. I'm satiated. I don't care about any other trade.
Okay. Do you want to see Jimmy Butler end up with a contender, or would you rather just watch him just sit and rot in Miami?
Jimmy Butler at this point.
Oh, who cares?
It's the 2025 Francis.
Chris Middleton is gone to the Washington Bullets.
Oh, who cares?
Wizards, I mean. Bullets.
Yeah.
Dating myself. Yeah, I don't care. The trade that we needed happened, and it happened over the weekend.
The Rams are going to be playing a regular season game in Australia.
Tell me about this.
2026.
Yeah, this crossed my feed. So Australia is going to start hosting NFL games.
Wow. So how would that work? Well, I know in baseball when they did this, and actually hockey did this with the Kings too, you got to put that a couple weeks ahead of schedule. So, like, honestly, they're giving everybody the warning here, like where the NFL would open up in Brazil or that's such a time difference, Danger. I would think that you're opening Labor Day
3
weekend.
days different. Like, it takes you 3 days to get to Australia, from what I've heard.
Could the NFL open on Labor Day weekend in 2026? Like, you're not putting a bye week on day 2 or week 2.
Do you have a week 1 game between the Rams and the Eagles? Is that what I saw it was?
No, they haven't announced the opponent.
Oh,
yet.
it was just the Rams?
Just the Rams, yeah.
Well, I guess for the Rams,
speculation is the Eagles, but the Rams are going to be the designated home team.
Okay, so for the Rams, how much easier of a trip is that for a team from the East Coast? I mean, it's not an easy trip for anybody.
It's not an easy trip. This is not London. No, they don't put West Coast teams in London, more often than not.
Right. That's let's see. They did Brazil the Friday so they did the kickoff, and then the kickoff is still going to be the kickoff. So how would you do it? Would you do it on that Friday like you did with Brazil and just hope that these teams can get reacclimated after flying back from Australia to their homes after their week 1 game?
You can't.
You can't,
No.
right? So what about the kickoff? Do you say the kickoff is no longer the kickoff because the week 1 game in Australia is going to be before the kickoff?
Listen to my suggestion. NFL week 0. Like, this is the preseason. You've already kind of shelved Labor Day weekend, and college football has kind of taken over. Why not take a little piece back? You're going to have nights where now the NFL is going to go right head-to-head with college football.
Yeah, it just feels anticlimactic. The kickoff is an event. Kickoff feels like, okay, it's here.
Yeah,
that
should be.
That should be first. That should be the first thing.
Maybe I'm looking at all this wrong. Like, sorry, Rams, you're going to, and whoever you play, your bye week is going to come after that.
Right. You only can do it with a bye week following a trip to Australia, and maybe it isn't early in the season. Maybe did they say it's early in the season?
They haven't said that. Yeah. No, I'm just.
How do you manage that one?
Oh, by the way, the Bills could be one of those teams. So in 2026, the Rams will host whoever in the standings from the 2025 their AFC East counterpart.
Oh,
so
if the Rams finish in 2025 in first place and the Bills finish in first place,
the Bills would be one of the teams that would be up for this.
Okay, I still think the Bills. I think the NFL knows their audience, right? Like when the Steelers go to Ireland, that's when the Bills will play the Steelers in Ireland. That feels like their next trip international.
Yeah. Like I'm wondering when we're going to get the remainder of these off-season games.
There's still one hanging out there, right?
Yeah.
Madrid, I want to say,
Yeah.
we don't know about yet. All right, a little scheduling morsel there. Oh, and if I may, just one bit of hot kicker talk in the sports bar. Because a familiar name has retired, even though he didn't kick in 2024. I always wondered, there was a loyalty that Mason Crosby and the Green Bay Packers had. There was some kind of blood pact. I don't understand it.
Well, the funny thing is I saw this last night. I'm like, wait a second. He didn't play last year. What is it? Oh, that's right. You kind of forget, like, hey, sometimes guys want a job and they're not being asked back, and maybe it just kind of reality set in that nobody had Mason Crosby. He is the all-time leader in the, hey, you're still here? How are you still here?
Man, he had some ups and downs in Green Bay. I'm not going to say that Tyler Bass is on the same trajectory because he's had more ups than he's had downs. But Mason Crosby, man, there were some kicks where it's like, how did he miss that, and how is he still there? How is he still employed? He was there for a long time. I mean, he's entrenched with Green Bay. Finally retiring after a year of not kicking, hanging it up officially. Hot kicker talk in the sports bar. Let's get to a round of shots. Wayne Wilson from RIT joining us before 6 o'clock as well.
Yeah, so we will go over the Sabres last night. NHL TV ratings, there's an issue here. We'll go over some of these numbers. They're dreadful. College basketball, boy, there's one program that is back, and why actually I think this is going to be your lead story coming up on Friday night if you're interested in tuning in. And there is a prop bet right now. We can't bet on prop bets for the Super Bowl, but this one, yeah, come on. If you had the money, you would bet against this. It's easy money.
All right, we're going to get to that and more next. RIT men's hockey coach Wayne Wilson before 6 o'clock for last call as well. You're in the sports bar.
Sports Update.
Myles Garrett going on the Rich Eisen show today, saying his request for a trade, not a decision he takes lightly. Garrett also mentioning that he reached out directly to LeBron James for advice. Hasn't been a good season for Syracuse basketball. Maybe things turn around tonight as the Orange host number 2 Duke. That'll be at 7 o'clock at the Dome. Tage Thompson trying to work his way back for Buffalo. Lindy Ruff with more.
Thompson skated this morning. Had a good day. It's got to go through, the protocol and the testing and stuff, but really felt good. So encouraged.
Sabres have won 4 in a row. One final game before the break. They play at Nashville on Saturday. The Amerks host Belleville on Friday. The only game for Mike Leone's team this coming weekend. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
The only way to take the Fan Rochester with you is the free Odyssey app. Download it today and follow the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Happy hour continues. RIT men's hockey coach Wayne Wilson joining us before the top of the hour. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia and a round of shots.
I'm not exactly sure what Dennis Gilbert of the Sabres dropping gloves with Columbus's Matthew Oliver at the start of the game actually accomplished.
We're tough, Gene. We're tough. We're not afraid to throw down. We're only afraid to throw down when it's one of our best players, if not our best player, getting his head knocked off. But, we'll throw down at the start of a game. That's cool.
Yeah, it's Columbus. That's not New Jersey. It's a few days after. Regardless, Buffalo wins last night 4-3. It's the first 4-game winning streak for Buffalo in 4 years. Now, before the winning streak, the Sabres were the only team in the Eastern Conference that actually had a losing record at home. Now at 13-11-3, which, okay, if we're being honest, it's actually 13-14 on home ice. As we mentioned in the update, they're in Nashville on Saturday, and then the break for the Four Nations tournament.
The Four Nations tournament replacing the All-Star game?
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
Francesa?
Oh, giant Francesa. What?
Oh, who cares?
Look, is anybody going to go to Boston? Or I can't wait for this. It's the NHL trying to come up with their own solution for the Olympics, which... I don't think we're going to be tuning in.
Yeah.
How do I know this?
Yeah.
Well,
tell me more.
TV numbers are dwindling, Danger, for the NHL. According to Sports Media Watch, the game between San Jose and Seattle, now, mind you, this is 10 o'clock Eastern, the puck drop. It averaged just 175,000 viewers on ESPN. That is the least watched NHL game of the year, and it was the lowest viewed program for ESPN for the entire day. Yeah. So all those talking head shows and whatnot and whatever's on right now, the game was outdrawn by its lead-in, Iowa State, Kansas State women's basketball by more than 2-1 margin. That same night, TNT and True TV averaged just 138,000 viewers for Pittsburgh, Utah.
Tough look for the sport. Tough look for ESPN. I'm still somewhat bullish on ESPN's coverage of the NHL. I still like that we're seeing more highlights. I think the NHL still needs to do a better job marketing their stars, and I think the stars need to do a better job of marketing the sport they play.
I think also when we get to the postseason, that's when, for us, that, if you're somewhere between I like hockey, but I'm kind of casual, I'm not sitting down for this game that doesn't involve my favorite team, it's a different brand. It is the one sport where the regular season doesn't look like the postseason.
I also would say in their attempts to market their athletes, the NHL needs to really, really dummy-proof it. Don't assume that we know who Austin Matthews is. Don't assume that we know even who Sidney Crosby or Alex Ovechkin. You have to put their name when they're on the screen, something, just so that the casual fan can draw a line. Oh, I've heard of him. Oh, that's what he looks like. Whatever it is, because you've got some young stars that you're not going to recognize. You don't know who they are. You don't know what they look. They're faceless. They may as well be nameless and faceless, but they're exciting young players. And I think the NHL could do more in terms of just making a casual fan connect those dots.
Well, they need to reach out to their partners. Like when I was as critical as anyone of the NBC deal. I hated it. I hated that network. That network's gone. But at least the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, you always had the NHL float coming out, and there wasn't a player on it. But, like, what opportunities are there to market this league, beyond your core audience?
Let's do an NHL weekend at Disney. Sign me up. Let's go.
You don't need an excuse to go to Disney.
I do not need an excuse.
No.
But I would go. I would go
down there. I know this is a big Syracuse game tonight. If I get a call from Schmitty, hey, cuz, you got any Syracuse tickets for Wednesday night? No, I don't. The number 2 team in the country comes back to the Dome, Duke. Duke is back. They're 19-2, 11-0 in ACC play. And this hasn't been really a series here. It's been one-sided. The Blue Devils have won 11 of the last 12 against Syracuse, including the last 9 in a row.
9 times.
7 o'clock tonight on ESPN2.
How much of a glutton for punishment are you if you're tuning into that game and you're a Syracuse fan? I mean, you're going to tune in because you're a fan, but it's going to hurt.
PJ Glasser, I like his take because it's something we can't bet on here in New York State, but Dome is buzzing. Players are going to first half, yeah. And then now, if Duke is leading by 10 at the half, just turn it off. Find something else to do. For the first time since 1985, St. John's is 11-1 in the Big East. The Red Storm taking down number 11 Marquette. They're now 20-3 overall. Rick Pitino's team has won 9 in a row.
9 times.
And now here comes a game this Friday night. St. John's heading to Stores to face a 2-time defending national champion UConn Huskies.
And the best effing coach in the game. Don't you turn your back on me.
The thing I like about Pitino last night, Danger, were all these other guys, including Boeheim at the end, they're just wearing the sweats. Pitino last night, just with the mobster look, the black suit, and the tie at MSG. It's like that's his domain.
Love it.
He should own that city right now. If he takes St. John's to the Final Four.
Dude still has swag. Still has it. Wearing the suit. Everybody else is dressing like they just got it. They're dressed like I'm dressed today. Like they just rolled out of bed.
So Providence, Kentucky. Oh, there's one other team he took.
Iona?
No, to the Final Four.
Oh, to the Final Four.
Why don't I not know? Oh, Louisville.
Yeah.
Duh. If he takes, nobody's taken 4 different teams. Does that make him the greatest coach ever? If he took 4 different programs, built them up, and took them to the
college?
He's done it over, yeah.
I wouldn't put him as the greatest ever. I think that's Coach K and Coach K alone. Then I think you probably got Dean Smith up there as well.
He gets a category, though.
I think, I think he's is he on the Mount Rushmore?
Yeah.
I put him on the Mount Rushmore.
No.
For sure.
Finally, just a reminder that we can't bet on Super Bowl props here in New York State, the color of the Gatorade, the length of the national anthem, all fun stuff that, okay, we could just kind of do for fun. There's another prop bet, Danger, that even if you could, I don't think you would want to. Trust me on this. Will Travis Kelce propose to Taylor Swift after the game? Right now, the odds are minus 1,500. That's not good. Kelce was actually asked this, and his coy response was, wouldn't you like to know?
If you're Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, why? Why go through that exercise at the end of the game? You could do it anywhere, anytime, any place you want to.
She's not going to be impressed by that.
Right.
No, she doesn't.
Right.
No.
I think he knows that. He probably knows that well enough to know, like, this isn't the college football playoff. I'm not at Boise State, and I don't have to get down on one knee to my long-term girlfriend.
You have to know your girl. Like when you went up to Toronto, it wasn't – you were at the Jays game, but you knew your girl. You weren't going to be like, hey, will you marry me, Sandy, on the scoreboard?
I wasn't going to be a scoreboard guy with
No.
with my fiance who doesn't like sports. Yeah, that wasn't going to be me.
But I'm not knocking it. That might work for some.
Yeah?
It's not going to work for this guy.
No, I think you could do better than proposing after winning a Super Bowl title. Or proposing after they lose. I don't think that would happen either. We could come up with a different game plan if you're Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift.
You know, we had somebody on the show who did that. Taylor Rapp.
Proposed
after the Super Bowl. Yeah, Taylor Rapp.
Oh, with the Rams, right.
With the Rams, yeah. He talked about it with us.
Yeah.
Like he had it all, but if they lost, no, he wasn't going to do it.
I remember that, yep. And, you know, the Boise State guy, I forget his name, but I remember that there was a, you know, after a big game. Those are fun moments, cute moments. Taylor Swift is beyond all of that. We've got to get to Wayne Wilson, RIT men's hockey coach. He's going to join us for a couple few with the Tigers back in town at the Gene Policini Center this weekend against Holy Cross. Wayne Wilson next on The Fan.
hot. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
You know, it has been far too long since these airwaves have been graced by the dulcet tones of RIT men's hockey coach Wayne Wilson.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, couple things here, Danger. This is only the second weekend for a regular season matchup for the Tigers since the first week in December.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a schedule that doesn't do anybody any favors, but at least they're going to be home 3 of the last 4 weeks, and the Tigers coming off a week. And one thing I do like a lot about Atlantic hockey, which I wish the NHL would adopt, Danger, they go to the 3-point system, 3-2-1. Tigers taking 5 of a possible 6 points at Air Force last weekend. Wayne, thanks for your time here, and what's it like actually going to be playing home here? What's it been like being away so many weekends here, Wayne?
Yeah, it has been a weird schedule, and it doesn't seem like we've kind of played the same number of games home and away, but we have, and it's just been different. And I wish we could have saved the 2 wins last weekend for our home crowd, that's for sure, because they've been tough to get at home this year. But we are looking forward to having what is really now a long stretch at home where, Air Force, February 1st, Saturday, was our last away game for the month of February. And then the rest is all at home, which is hard to believe. But looking forward to being at home and trying to just kind of keep playing a little bit better as each weekend has gone along. And we had a good weekend last weekend and hope to build off of that with a really good Holy Cross team coming in this weekend.
Yeah, so Air Force, that's not an easy place to play. Give me the reasons. Like, how was your team able to come away and get the majority of points last weekend, Wayne?
Yeah, great question. And, this is the second time we have flown out on a Wednesday night for a Friday-Saturday series. Really, with the Wednesday night, we don't miss any more classes than we would if we left Thursday morning. Now, the 2 wins this past weekend was the first time, the second time we've swept in almost 20 years, Air Force at their place. So that has been far and few between. But some of the reasons really, one, we felt much better this weekend because of going out Wednesday night. But a typical trip to Air Force when we were leaving the Thursday morning was getting a 6 a.m. flight out of Rochester, always having to stop in Chicago or another place, but Chicago on through to Denver. But when you leave at 6 with a team and equipment, you've got to be there at 4 in the morning.
Oof.
Your guys are getting up at 3 in the morning. You could be sitting around for any length of period of time in Chicago before getting to Denver, then driving Denver down to Colorado Springs, dropping off your equipment, practicing, eating, checking into the hotel, which a lot of times took us right up to 8:30 Thursday night. And with the altitude and the time change and everything else, we always just seemed like we were catching up. The Friday night game was always just very, very tough. And then we seemed to get acclimated for the Saturday, but then we're on a flight back home the next day, so it was always tough. Going out on the Wednesday, we practiced before Air Force, so early Thursday afternoon. We kind of get acclimated and just feel a lot better, and a quick morning practice, and away we play Friday, Saturday, but we're just way more acclimated. For whatever reason, I don't know the science behind your body getting acclimated to the altitude, but leaving Wednesday night compared to Thursday morning is a huge difference.
Matthew Wild gets a game winner in overtime. That line has been good for you, certainly since Wild has come back. What about the other 3 lines, the secondary scoring, if you will, Wayne? What are your thoughts on the rest of the offense here?
Well, that's kind of been the difference. Really, we kind of had a meeting back after we were at Robert Morris and after the first game, and we need secondary scoring, and the other line has been very, very consistent for us. Even though they're drawing a ton of attention from the other teams, they've been still very consistent. So Matt Wild's winner was certainly welcomed, but also that line was just a line that I guess has always produced for us at a very consistent basis. The other 3 lines need to start contributing. So it started back against Robert Morris, with Hobbs getting a winner at Robert Morris, and then Tanner Andrew getting the winner this past Saturday, and then just getting goals from other people. Tyler Mahan with a shorthanded. You can't count on those things on a regular basis, but you'd like to see that every once in a while. And then whether your defense can get a goal here and there, that also helps us out. So for us, the difference was really getting some secondary scoring, and that's helped.
Well, so Holy Cross coming in, first time they've actually been here, I believe, since that playoff series a couple of years ago, and they still have McClinsky. They still have some guys that can put the puck in the net. What kind of opponent? What do they like to do here, Wayne?
Yeah, very good goaltending. McClinsky, you mentioned, is one of the elite players in the league. Play with a lot of structure, and they're battling for first place right now. So for us right now, we want to continue, working on ourselves and getting better like we are. And quite frankly, the last time we saw them in our building, we were won our league, and we're looking to move on, and they upset us. So I would love nothing better to ruin their bid for first place in the league anyways, and use that as motivation, as part of our motivation to maybe ruin a little bit of their season. It wouldn't be over, obviously, with these two games. There's a lot of hockey left, but just have a little bit of a chip on our shoulder. Not that it's payback; it's different players and everything, but just be a spoiler and just keep working as we have been and getting better.
Wayne, one last question here. This is a little off topic, but the hockey conversation this week on our show was about what happened with the Sabres. What didn't happen, actually, like how they didn't respond after their captain, got running. And granted, the college game much different than professional hockey. But what is, like, as a coach, what do you want to see out of your guys when something like that happens and you have to police something? That whole situation, what did you make of it?
Well, not knowing their team dynamics or anything like that, so that's not necessarily talking about them specifically, but the situation. You'd like to see a response. I know that's not appropriate for the college game, but I think it just happens. Like, my concern would be that nothing did happen. I think as a coach now, not speaking as a player, as a coach, someone does something and you kind of have to react to it a little bit, but you're also going, good for us, when that happens and someone responds and is upset with when something like that happens. And sometimes some players just blank out and just do it. And, geez, I don't know if I should have done that, or I'm going to get a penalty, or I'm going to get a suspension. But, for me, it just would tell me that you really care about your teammates. And it's just a response that you have, and it just happens, whether it's not a conscious thing, I don't think. And you see that a lot. A lot of the skirmishes after the whistle is because someone bumped your goalie, and you just react to it. And it's like, we got to be smarter there or whatever. And we were going on the power play. But I do think as a coach and as much as sometimes you've got to frown on that a little bit, you're also hoping it just happens without anything planned. You reacted to a situation, maybe not in the best manner, but hey, you care a lot about your teammates and things like that, and I think that's important. It just should happen.
Wayne Wilson, head coach RIT, Holy Cross, 7:05 coming up Friday night, 5:05 on Saturday. Wayne, appreciate it. See you this weekend.
Yep, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Wayne. There's head coach Wayne Wilson, RT men's hockey team. Instinct is the word he's talking about. I mean, it's just instinct. If you're a good teammate, if you're a hockey player and you see that happen to a teammate, instincts should take over. It's not something that you need to be coached out. It doesn't need to be coached out of you, and it shouldn't be in you. It's either you have it or you don't.
Yeah, you right. It's much easier to coach it out of somebody, but to me, that team lost me after that. Yeah, you won the game. Who cares?
Yeah. Tomorrow we're back with a brand new episode. Thursdays mean we talk to 13 Web Sports and Buffalo Plus's Dan Fates. Fatesy stops by at 3:25, and we'll get a check-in from the Philadelphia Eagles sideline reporter Devin Caney will be stopping by the sports bar 4:25 from New Orleans, and we'll get his preview of the Eagles and Chiefs coming up here on Sunday. If you missed Spencer German from 92.3 The Fan and the Locked On Browns podcast, or PJ Glasser, the host of Send It In on the BetMGM Network, our guest today, you can find those conversations wherever you get your podcasts. Just search out the sports bar, and that includes Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the free-to-download Odyssey app, where we're always sounding our best. Thanks to everybody watching the stream on YouTube, our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester as well. JR Sport Brief is next on The Fan.